Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers and the Miami Heat may be in their respective conference finals.
And right now, you'd have to bet on the Panthers before you'd have to bet on the Heat. It's funny, all the fans at the game wearing the gold shirts. I know they're the Golden State Warriors and all that, but I think of Golden State as blue and white more than I do yellow. And when I see all the yellow in the crowd, I think it's a Lakers shirt.
In game one, it did look weird with them wearing the black and the Lakers wearing the gold.
But Golden State doesn't. Do they have gold uniforms?
They had
Maybe the
gold
city ones?
like a couple years ago, yeah.
I know it's their trim. I get it. But I mean, like, I just it's weird.
But what I don't understand is why all of a sudden we've strayed away from home teams wearing white at home. Like every time it happens, it's like, oh, wow.
Morning, everyone.
Morning. Hope you had a good week. Thanks for listening. That is so old, KW. That's 4 years worth of Pat Williams wanting to bring a team to Orlando. You know, is this the Orlando Dreamers? Orlando's not getting a Major League Baseball team.
15 seconds.
The longest of shots would be they'd be the fallback if the Rays can't make it work in Tampa Bay.
Think they ever get a hockey team?
No.
He'd support an ECA.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Happy Friday. Happy Cinco de Mayo. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. FloridaSportsNetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. We got the Derby tomorrow. We got the Miami Grand Prix on Sunday. And right now, both the Panthers and the Heat are on their way to their respective conference finals. What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
That moment of silence brought to you by the province of Ontario, who's unable to speak this morning.
Wow. Again, tell you what, if the Panthers win Sunday, Monday is when we invade.
Wow, what a start to the second for the Florida Panthers.
Man.
I mean, I'll tell you what, Paul Maurice has aged well, if you know what I mean. He used to be a lot more intense. He used to, I think, get angry a lot more. And as he's gotten older, he's calmed down. You saw the in-between interviews, you know, the couple interviews he did. He's enjoying the moment. He nearly walked away from the sport, or he did walk away from the sport. Not nearly, he walked away from the sport. And wasn't sure if he was ever going to coach again. And takes his Florida Panther job, goes through half a season where they're
not good.
In your words, Dave, fatutzing around.
Yeah, there you go.
And all of a sudden, the second half, they found themselves. Everything that Maurice was preaching, they started figuring out. And here they are now, up 2-0 in the second round of the playoffs. Unbelievable.
Listen, they've only won these games against Boston and Toronto. I mean, it's not like they've played anyone or anything. They've only played the two teams in the East who had the most points, because I think Toronto was tied with Carolina for most points. But most people thought the two best teams in the East were Boston and Toronto. They've won 5 in a row against Boston and Toronto. 4 of them on the road.
And Bobrovsky is now playing like the guy that won 2 Vezinas. At least he was last night. He was absolutely tremendous.
It's funny. When watching the game, who did you think had the edge in play?
Toronto.
Well, they outshot him, they outhit him, and they won twice as many faceoffs. And the Panthers won 3-2. As our buddy John Forsland likes to say, that's hockey, baby.
Yes, it is.
That's how it happens. That's the difference. That's why we talk about the most important position in pro sports as a quarterback. I don't know. It could be the goalie. It could be the goalie in hockey at times anyway. Let me tell you. Ask the 93 Canadians. But you think South Florida is going to appreciate this at all? Do you think this could be like the FAU men's basketball team that people actually turn around, nudge one another and go, hey, we got a hockey team?
Well, after the first round, I'd hope so.
Well, no. Come on. Are you
That's
serious?
Cute. That's cute, Felipe. That is really cute.
Are you serious?
You are a lifelong Miami resident.
No one watches hockey.
And no one watches Miami sports until they win something. And they haven't won anything yet. So until the Stanley Cup Finals, at that point, I expect Miami to wake up. I still think there'll be more Leafs fans at Game 3 than there will be Panther fans.
Ooh, that's an interesting bet. I'll go 60-40 Panthers. How about that? Tell you what, though, all those Leafs fans, they bought tickets to both games, too.
Absolutely.
They made the 3-4 night hotel stay commitment, too. I mean, they're in on this. So, first off, they're going to get here tomorrow. They're flying in tomorrow. And they're just going to have to. Now, it doesn't suck to be, sitting in Miami, South Florida, for 24 plus hours before the hockey game. Let's compare weather and scenery and what have you. But, they'll be sitting with their drinks, sitting outdoors. And remember, it's going to be packed. Grand Prix in town. The Heat are playing the Knicks. I mean, the place is going to be jumping. There's going to be lines everywhere. The drinks are going to be expensive. The hotel's top dollar. And they're flying in down 0-2. They thought at the very least they'd be flying in 1-1. Totally different morale flying in 1-1 than 0-2.
Do Canadians have different morale? They're just more sorry? I mean, they're nice.
They are.
They be 0-2.
Yeah, but this will be depressing. It's one thing if they had lost in the second round of the Bruins. All right. But to see the bracket open up the way it did, and for you to be on a 56-year drought, and what's preventing you from going to the conference finals of the Florida Panthers? I mean, that's like how a little bit, not to nearly the degree, but it's a little bit how Knicks fans feel. Okay, like the Leafs are a much better team in their sport than the Knicks are in theirs. But if you said to a Knicks fan, listen, Milwaukee's getting upset by a walking wounded Miami team in the first round. All you have to do is beat that team who finished 7th in the regular season and through the playoffs as the 8th seed. That's what's preventing you from going to the conference finals. All of a sudden you go, really? And then it becomes extremely disappointing if you don't get to the conference finals. It's like, well, it's never going to be easier to go to the conference finals than this.
The Leafs aren't going away, though.
Okay.
I don't think they're going away. I'm not saying they're winning the series, but they're not going away. This thing isn't going to be a sweep. It's not going to be 4-1. I just don't see that.
Well, it's interesting. There's an extra day off in between games 2 and 3. Paul Maurice, after the game, said, that'll be good for us. We've played intense hockey here, and we could use the extra day. I actually think the Leafs could use the extra day, too. It allows them to get their head out of there, you know what.
The best player on the ice still plays for Toronto. Matthews has been unbelievable. Unable to score, but he's been the best player on the ice.
You sure the best player on the ice hasn't been the goalie for the Panthers?
Well, the best. All right.
Well, only because that's big.
Oh,
The one guy plays 60 minutes. The other guy plays 25. And the one guy can influence the game even more. I'm just saying. Now, Mark, you have hit on something. Sergio Bobrovsky can become a sieve quickly. I mean, if you're Toronto, that's what you have to keep doing. You have to go, listen, we just have to extend this series long enough for the other Bob to show up. There's two Bobs. We're facing the really good one, but the other one is lurking. We just have to hang around.
Last night,
right?
He really was. He gives up the 2 goals. There's a couple of loose pucks in the crease in the first period that could have been 3 or 4-0 really easily.
Listen, I got to admit, I thought the fix was in early. I really did. I thought that the NHL and their officials got together and said, listen, in the first 10 minutes, we're just going to make sure this one's over and it's 1-1. Okay. We got to get Toronto at 1-1. They're calling every penalty they can call. We're going to give them the power plays, the whole deal. We want this thing over. Celebration. We want game 2 against the Panthers to be like game 2 against the Lightning. Mardi Gras. That's what we're looking for. 2.5-hour Mardi Gras. Got it? And they got through it. Only 2-0. And then I even was sitting there going, if they just can sneak one in at the end of 20, 2-1 with the way you've been outplayed, it's not so bad.
Paul Maurice agreed with you 100%. Talked about how big that goal was in the first period because they knew Toronto was going to come out guns a-blazing and going to give everything they had in the first 6-10 minutes of that period. And that's what happens. And you're going to see the same thing in game 3, that the Maple Leafs are going to come out flying.
Felipe, I don't think anyone in South Florida noticed the Panthers until they beat Boston. Even coming back from 3-1 and making it 3-3, the Heat were the story. And you know how big the Heat are in Miami. I mean, the Heat are damn near side by side with the Dolphins in Miami. The Heat are huge.
There's no doubt about that. But what I'm saying is last year they won the President's Cup and got embarrassed in the second round.
Yeah,
and they saw a bump in popularity. I mean, they sold more tickets this year.
Okay. But
they were outrated by infomercials 2 years ago.
That's the truth.
No, that's not. I'm not making that up. They were outrated by infomercials. Their television games were outrated by infomercials.
That was true. That was documented.
That's a fact.
Yes. In fact, there was
got a bump in tickets of the President's Cup. Goodness gracious, I hope so.
I mean,
and not only that, they were outrated by infomercials in the middle of the night. And we're not making this up. And we're only talking about less than a handful of years ago, like 3.
Yeah, trust me, for our sake, for this show's sake, because we're not on in South Florida, we would have much rather had the Lightning be playing right now. We're on in Tampa St. Pete. They have a following. That's a hockey team. The Florida Panthers are a team that plays in South Florida that is now getting noticed. We've noticed them because they're really good.
Well, what were the Lightning before they won?
Lightning have been an established franchise from day one. They set attendance records in their first couple of years. Their first run against Philadelphia, I still think they own the record for the largest attendance of any NHL game played indoors.
Okay. Yeah, like these stadium series games were bigger, but that Lightning Flyers playoffs and what have you, I mean, they drew 27,000 for hockey games. Yeah, Lightning have been big from the very beginning. They really have. But Felipe, this is like 10 years ago, when FGCU went to the Sweet 16 and they won their 2 games in Philadelphia, and the city of Philadelphia went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for Dunk City, while a Philadelphia team, LaSalle, was going to the Sweet 16, but they were playing 3 time zones away doing it. LaSalle couldn't get any media attention in their own market as they were going to the Sweet 16 because, well, the phenomenon that was called Dunk City happened in Philadelphia, and the people of Philadelphia said, yeah, we're actually more interested in that. That's kind of how I felt about the first round for the Panthers. It was a hell of an accomplishment. The problem is the Heat beat the Bucks in 5. 19 people outside of Panthers fans noticed. And now here they are, and they're up 2-0, and it's cool. And everybody in Miami's talking about the Derby, the Grand Prix, and is Jimmy Butler going to play in Game 3?
Miller and Moulton. Another good show lined up for you today. We will talk some Derby with Randy Moss from NBC Sports, horse racing guru, and Pat Kirwan to talk some National Football League as well. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for joining us this Friday morning right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Felipe, I sent you a text.
Kind of. I mean, I feel like it's just celebrated by a lot of Americans.
Which is funny because growing up, all right, you know, now old white guy, and I growing up in the Northeast, this was never a thing.
Oh,
What?
no.
Until I moved to Florida, this was
21st.
never a thing.
Wow.
I was in my mid-30s, and I was like, well, what's the deal with May 5th? Cinco de Mayo. Okay.
Well, you know, anything to get folks to drink.
Yep.
Well, they say, listen, as an Irish Catholic, I was like, oh, tell me more about it.
Yeah. But for those who don't know, it's the Mexicans celebrating a victory over the French Empire in the mid 1800s.
Yeah, it was the beginning of what they considered like their road to independence.
Right.
They
Them
beat the
being
French, and then they actually lost to the French a few years later. But then after we were done with our Civil War, we kind of reached out to Mexico and said, you want our help? And we kind of helped force Napoleon and the French out.
Right. But a victory on May 4th or May 5th boosted morale for Mexicans, especially over the French.
But I'm not kidding, Felipe. I was in my mid-30s, and I'm like, what's everybody making a big deal about Cinco de Mayo? What the hell? It's May 5th.
You know what, McMillan there? I don't know, because I was, you start playing it out. What is it? The A's are on pace to go 31 and 131 right now, basically. I mean, it's basically 30. If you just multiply it, it's 30 and 130. I gave them, it's either 30 and 132 or 31 and 131 with the 2 games left. And that baffles me.
Didn't they make the playoffs 2 years ago?
What's even more baffling is that the St. Louis Cardinals are the 3rd worst record in baseball and the worst record in the National League.
Yeah, I've never seen the Cardinals this bad in my life.
You probably haven't, Felipe.
No.
Felipe.
Never.
Sorry.
Remember, what was it? This was the first time since 1907
We're coming
that
back.
they were 10 games out of first at the end of April.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Listen, the Panthers, the Heat, NHL, NBA playoffs, derbies tomorrow. Randy Moss of NBC Sports going to join us next hour to talk more about that. Pat Kirwan in our 8 o'clock hour to talk all things NFL. Going to go off the beaten path just a bit here. Did you see this Alabama baseball story come to fruition yesterday?
100%.
So if you were with us earlier in the week, we just said, oh, by the way, something really suspicious happened. I think it was on Monday. It was around the starting 5. Maybe it was a short segment in the hour following it, in which we said, hey, something strange happened over the weekend. There, Alabama LSU played the 3-game SEC baseball series, and the state of Ohio, out of nowhere, said there was suspicious activity on one of the games, betting wise. And they announced that we're not going to take any more bets on Alabama baseball. And literally, Mark, as it turns out, DraftKings did not receive a single dollar bet on that game. Not a dollar was wagered on that game through DraftKings. I mean, so there's not a lot of betting on college baseball.
Well, yeah, right. There, until the College World Series, there's virtually none.
But so we all just kind of went, that's interesting. And, it was another lesson in how betting is regulated. The states all regulate themselves. There are 1 or 2 companies that oversee it all. And, the conferences actually have deals with these companies. in which they do not want a betting scandal. And nothing can bring down a sport more quickly and in a more big way than a betting scandal. Well, all of a sudden, yesterday, it was Alabama's firing their baseball coach. Huh. And then, before we knew any other facts, a couple of national reporters, including Andy Staples of The Athletic, who doesn't normally cover college baseball, but he does cover college football and college athletics. Andy Staples was the first one I saw, Mark, to say no Alabama players are believed to be involved. And then it's like, hold on a second. Did the head coach of the Alabama baseball team bet for or against Alabama against LSU?
And if I've got this right, David, I thought the way the story went is that part of this was that game that was in question.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama was supposed to be starting their number one pitcher.
In college baseball, that's how they do it. Friday night is when the aces go. Saturday is when the number 2 starters go. Sunday is when the number 3 starters go.
An hour or so before the game, they make a pitching change, and they do not start their number 1 starter.
His back stiffened up, and he couldn't go, and all of a sudden, they were pulling a kid who hadn't pitched in 6 weeks, and he was an emergency starter. And apparently, the Alabama baseball coach gets on the phone and calls a couple of guys in Ohio and says, start placing bets on LSU. And at the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, can we just stop there? The irony, Pete Rose, banned from baseball for life for gambling. Where was the betting parlor that these bets and illegal activity took place? At the Reds ballpark in Cincinnati. I mean, honestly, just thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sports betting gods. Thank you. They've got video and audio, apparently, of these guys receiving the cell phone call and then placing the bets. And it turns out they're receiving the call from the head coach of the Alabama baseball team. I don't know the amount of the wagers. Were you able to find that out at all?
No.
But remember, a lot of gambling, there were no dollars placed on this game. It would not take, honestly, Mark, if a $4,000 bet came in on that game, that would be enough for a state regulatory agency to go, what the heck's going on here?
And if you remember when the whole Donahue point shaving or scandal in the NBA was going on, late Bert Sugar was on our show talking about it. And Bert was the one that said the reason they got away with it for so long is that the bets were less than $3,000. That was the number. And I remember that interview with Bert like it was yesterday, David. And so to me, your number that you're talking about is right on. $3-4 grand. Enough to set the bells and whistles off quickly.
And so they were set off. And then they looked into it. And they traced it all the way back to, listen, this guy wasn't incredibly successful at Alabama. This was his 5th year. They were okay this year. They were 30-15. I don't know right now if they would have been an NCAA tournament team or not. I'll be honest, I didn't look that up. I would guess that they would have snuck in, but it's possible not. But he had only made the tournament one time in 4 years at Alabama, but he had a pretty good team this year. Mark, he's got to be making what? 300 grand, 400 grand?
Yeah.
He's the head coach of an SEC baseball team. He's got to be making 350 minimum.
And David, they were for sure a tournament team because I just looked up the RPI. They're 22nd.
Oh, okay. Well, they're
They're
in.
a lock.
I mean, you know, if they finish strong, they could even host a regional. Top 16 seeds host. Okay, great. So he would have made the tournament for the second time in 5 years. Hell, maybe he gets an extension. I mean, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing? So, yeah, he fired. But I'll say it again. Man, is the system in place. This was 2 bets on Alabama LSU baseball on a Friday. And the system immediately began to work. Ohio said, we think we have suspicious activity here. Neighboring states, all right, immediately said, well, we're not going to place bets then, because Indiana, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey all have said, well, we're not going to take money on Alabama baseball until this plays out. I mean, if anything, you know, those who are against sports betting, and I totally understand it. I do. You know, addiction's a serious thing. I get it. There's no doubt it has ruined many lives. But the system is in place for sports betting. And Mark, you and I said it all along for all the years in which they wouldn't do it because the fear was if we do it, we're going to have widespread corruption. And we're like, listen, nobody regulates sports like Vegas. Just telling you right now, nobody does. Look at Ohio. Who the hell's Ohio? Look at what they did.
Alabama baseball, the head coach trying to make a few shekels because his starting pitcher goes down against LSU. Brings down his career. And you wonder what happens. I mean, I know they're going to, Alabama will keep on keeping on. Does this affect them?
I will say the investigation is there's not a single player involved. So the players will just keep playing. By the way, LSU won 8-6 Friday. So at least, I mean, he was given good information if he was not just the biggest damn idiot in North America. Starting 5 is next.
Ladies and gentlemen, hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
All right. I'm going to ask this one question in
Okay.
our Twitch chat room. SB 178 is education facilities as shelters. What's so dangerous about that?
And David, just quickly, the difference with the baseball thing, what he pointed out, and I read that article, is that Williams is filing an application with Orange County to help get funding for a baseball stadium project. That's really the only new development in that.
Because Miller and Moulton interviewed Pat Williams 4 years ago when he first started talking about the Orlando Dreamers in Major League Baseball.
We can get him on again.
Oh, yeah.
Pat will do any interview anytime.
17-18. Okay.
Is this the banning of social media in schools, Empire? It's the only bill I know that's going on right now that involves schools.
Oh, it's an immigration bill.
Okay.
All right. We'll leave that for the other shows. They have to have something to talk about. We have enough.
Wes, where's the article? If you got a link to it, I'd love to see the article that you saw that said the Bama coach did it multiple times. Not saying you're wrong. I'd just like to see the article. That's all. See, Snoop's a part of a group trying to buy the Ottawa Senators.
And he says he's serious. And you're going to have to pay over $1 billion, I think. Or no.
No.
But I believe there's also an arena project involved. Like everybody realizes they need to play someplace differently. Yeah, Paul, I'm looking forward. Next weekend, they come to Jacksonville to play North Florida. Can't wait to see Toe. I'll watch their games Friday and Saturday next week. Apparently, there are bids north of $900 million for the Ottawa Senators.
Holy Toledo. No, he didn't, Johnny Mac. We all called it a night in the third quarter from the sounds of it.
Yeah, I didn't even make the third quarter. I turned my phone off last night, and I really didn't have much zest after the Panthers-Leafs game. I probably should have just shut it down then. But the Lakers were up 7 after the first quarter, and so Game 1, by the way, Lakers-Warriors, highest rated second round NBA game on cable ever.
Wow. What's the number? 10 seconds.
I think it was around 9 million.
Nice.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. A couple things before we get into the starting five. One of our listeners was kind enough to do some R&D while we were talking about the Alabama baseball coach who got himself fired for helping to place bets on Alabama baseball, Brad Bohannon, and we kind of wondered, man, what does he make? Apparently, guy looked up his contract, makes $275,000 in base salary, another $225,000 in incentives that can be reached. So he's making $500,000 if all things go well. Mark, do you know how far $500,000 a year goes in Tuscaloosa?
I'm not completely sure because I've not been to Tuscaloosa, but I think it goes a long way, David.
You are correct, sir. You are correct. A really long way. Like all the way to Starkville, Mississippi, which is 75 miles. That's how far $500,000 a year goes. Oh, boy. And the other thing is, Miller and Moulton have been in the state of Florida since the late 1990s. I mean, we feel very Floridian by now. But Mark's from Michigan and I'm from Jersey. And we, during the course of today's show, during a couple commercial breaks, have been talking about, hey, was Cinco de Mayo a thing for you growing up?
I mean, even in college, I don't, when you live to go out on days when hey, let's go drink today. Okay.
Right.
I mean, I remember having a class on the Thursday before the Derby and walking in the Thursday class. And a buddy of mine says, what's in a mint julep? And it was the Thursday before the Derby. And I said, I don't know. And then whiskey. He goes, we should go have one because the Derby Saturday. And we got up out of class before it started and walked to the bar. Trust me, Cinco de Mayo would have been the same thing. I would have remembered a Cinco de Mayo in my 5 years in East Lansing. Not a one.
So we were talking to Felipe during the break, and we're like, Felipe, I'm telling you, for both of us, Cinco de Mayo growing up was not a thing. It was not a thing till we got to Florida. And then everybody was like, hey, it's Cinco de Mayo. And the two of us kind of looked around and went, okay, I'm assuming that stands for May 5th, but what does it mean? So,
I've celebrated it my whole life.
There you go. Good deal. All right. So happy Cinco de Mayo. And if you're not celebrating it, well, you know what? Why not? Why the heck not? Time now for
the starting five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the starting 5 on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
And if you're not going to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, how about tipping one for the Florida Panthers? Don't you think they've earned it? Speaking of 5, they've won 5 in a row against the Bruins and the Leafs. Hello. Florida's up 2-0 against Toronto. They went north of the border and won again last night, 3-2, after they were down 2-0, 5 minutes into the game. They scored 2 goals, 47 seconds apart, early second. And Sergio Bobrovsky said, hold my beer. I got the rest. 35 saves. Game 3 Sunday, 6:30, TBS. Dallas even their series with Seattle at a game apiece. Joe Pavelski scored again. He said, okay, I'll make a deal with you guys. I scored 4 in the first game we lost. How about if I score once and the rest of you chip in? And they went, okay. Dallas 4-2 over Seattle. Game 3, Sunday, 9:30 on TBS. Game 2 tonight, Devils and Carolina Hurricanes in Carolina, 8 o'clock TNT. Home teams now, Mark, are a robust 22-34 in the NHL playoffs. Unbelievable. Golden State at home took care of the Lakers, even though they were down 7 after the first quarter. And then get this, second and third quarters, the Warriors outscored the Lakers 84-47. Wow. Remember they hit 15 more threes in the Lakers in game 1 and lost? They hit 11 more threes in game 2 in the 127-100 win. Clay hit 8 of those threes, 8 of 11 from deep. He looked like Klay Thompson last night. He hit 30. LeBron in 28 minutes had 23 points. Warriors shot 50% from beyond the arc, 21 of 42 from deep. Also won the battle of the boards by 15. You know why? They didn't miss any shots. There were no rebounds for the Lakers to grab. Hey, Milwaukee fired Mike Budenholzer yesterday.
Surprise you?
No, because Giannis made a couple of comments, if you go back and listen closely, after they were eliminated, in which Giannis questioned their adjustments or lack thereof. I have never heard Giannis say anything negative about anyone associated with the Milwaukee Bucks. And when Giannis said that, I thought to myself, okay, he's going to get fired. What came out after the Heat eliminated the Bucks, Budenholzer's brother was killed in a car wreck right before Game 4. Been a rough 2 weeks for Mike Budenholzer. He is going to get $16 million over the next 2 years, though, because he was still under contract. He is the fourth coach in NBA history who led a team to the best record in the league and will not be returning as coach of that team the next year. Mike Brown, after LeBron left Cleveland, they got rid of Mike Brown. Phil walked away from the Bulls after Jordan walked away from the Bulls in 98. And Pat Riley got fired by the Lakers after 1990 after leading them to the best regular season record, but they got bounced in the playoffs. Tonight, Game 3, Celtics-Sixers. Philly's a home dog. They're getting 2. Denver-Phoenix, no Chris Paul, and yet Phoenix is favored by 4. ESPN has the NBA doubleheader tonight. Baseball, the Rays swept the Pirates.
Pirates might be coming back down to earth now. It might be time for the roster to catch up with the record, if you know what I mean.
Well, the Pirates scored 4 runs in 3 games, and the 2 they scored in the 9th yesterday were both unearned. I mean, a simple play is made in the infield. That's a 3-0 final. Instead, 3-2 Rays. Zach Eflin, 7 innings, only gave up 3 hits, struck out 10. Did you see the incident, though? He had to take his wedding ring off. Somebody explain that to me. It's on his glove hand. Honestly, he said, I've never had it happen before. He goes, they come, they take the glove off of you. They check the glove in your hands. And when checking his hands, they said, you need to take the ring off. He's like, and he literally said to the umps, I've never had anybody ask me to take this off before. This doesn't make sense. I put the glove over it. They literally said to him, take it off, you're ejected. So he took it off.
I know a lot of people that take their wedding ring off when they play golf. I don't. Because one, I'm just afraid I'm going to lose it.
I find it interesting. I watch on the PGA and LPGA Tour because most people don't putt with a glove. And it is one of the things I'm interested in because then you can see whether or not the men and the women are keeping their wedding ring on when they play. It's just curious, who is like, yeah, it doesn't bother me. The club doesn't roll or anything. And there are those that are convinced, oh, no, I can't do that. Can't grip the club properly. Oh, okay. I just thought you were saying that a lot of guys who take their wedding ring off after golf. Hello. Baltimore beat Kansas City 13-10 after blowing a 7-run lead. They scored 2 in the 8th, 3 in the 9th. Boston swept a 4-gamer from Toronto. Red Sox have won 6 in a row. 11-5 the final. The Braves swept the Marlins, a 3-game series, 6-3. Their lead in the East is 6. Remember, I said they would win this division by at least 12. And the reason they're up 6, well, they just swept the Marlins, who are tied for second with the Mets, and the Tigers just got done sweeping them. Justin Verlander made his Mets debut, got a nice ovation, gave up 2 solo homers in the first, and the Mets only got 3 hits.
Very Verlander.
Yes, first inning. Him and Tom McGlavin. If you're going to get to those 2, you got to get them in the first. Washington swept the Cubs. Well, they took 3 out of 4 from the Cubs, including 3 in a row, 4-3. Cubs are now below 500. Angels have won 4 in a row. Cardinals have lost 6 in a row. 11-7 LA. Jack Flaherty for the Cardinals, supposed to be their ace. 10 runs in 2 1/3.
They are 10 and 22, I believe.
10-22.
Worst record in the National League. The St. Louis Cardinals have the worst record in the National League, third worst record in baseball. Wow.
So Flaherty got pulled after a comebacker hit him. And the reporter asked him, did they take you out of the game because you got hit by the comebacker? He said, no, I got taken out of the game because I sucked. That's accountability right there. Twins scored 5 in the 12th, beat the White Sox 7-3. Correa and Buxton both homered. Snapped the White Sox 3-game winning streak. By the way, the White Sox have the same record as the Cardinals, 10-22. Colorado swept Milwaukee by scoring 5 in the 8th, 9-6. And Mark, we played the attendance game in Oakland. They combined had about 5,300 at their last 2 games, but this was a mighty nooner. You know, A's fans, the mighty nooner, they love that. Oakland lost at home to Seattle 5-3. Mariners have won 4 in a row. The A's are 6-26. How many saw the game?
Where are you putting the over-under at?
They draw big crowds at noon, 8,000.
I'm going over.
13,025.
And we thank you.
And see you in Las Vegas on Friday night. Rays host the Yankees for 3. Marlins go on the road to face the Cubs. College baseball, we talked about it earlier. Alabama fired head coach Brad Bohannon after he was linked to a betting scandal on last Friday's Alabama-LSU game. The bets took place in Ohio at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Pete Rose is laughing his off. Golf, the Wells Fargo, it's an elevated event, so it's a really good field, although the top 2 golfers in the world, Rahm and Scheffler, said, no, we're good. We'll see you at the PGA. Tommy Fleetwood has the lead at 6 under. You know, he's never won on the PGA Tour. Still looking for that first win. Schauffele had the lead until he bogeyed 16 and 18. He's part of a group at 5 under, 1 shot back. 9 golfers at 4 under, including Patrick Cantlay. You know, we didn't talk about this earlier this week. Cantlay's caddy now full-time is Joe LaCava. That should give us some more insight as to how long Tiger Woods is going to be out.
100%.
Because Joe was leased for a tournament here, a tournament there in the last few years, but no, he made sure everybody knew, no. I'm with Patrick Cantlay now. By the way, Rory and JT 3 under, Homa 1 under, Finau Fowler even. Spieth tripled 18 to be 1 over. Even par would be the cut if they made it after the first round. Finally, some football news. The Giants signed defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence. Pat talked about the defensive tackle market skyrocketing. The big fella got 22.5 a year for 4 years. 60 of the 90 million guaranteed. It's an extension, kicks in after this year. And the final tally is in, Mark. You know, Dion in Colorado urging all the players, you know, go hit the portal. Remember, he's got 85 scholarship guys. Of the 85, how many hit the portal?
Oh, gosh. At least half.
Higher.
My first number was 60 in my head.
Just a little lower, 57.
Okay.
57 hit the portal. Now, the Colorado AD did acknowledge about 24 of those that we actually wanted to keep. Right now, it looks like Colorado's going to have 67 scholarship players. Like we mentioned, you can have 85. That's before injuries and anybody else leaves. 4 of last year's players said, okay, I won't play football here, but I will stay and continue to get my education and you will pay for it. And by NCAA rule, Colorado has to. And at 8 minutes before the hour, that was...
You've heard. That was the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
You
All right.
okay?
2 requirements.
All right.
1, staying awake. 2, hitting the right button. We've had you for the first hour, Felipe. I like it. You did it sitting down, which impresses the hell out of me.
Well, but didn't he fall asleep during Lakers Warriors last night?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, see, that's good for us. That means he was asleep by like 11. That's good for us. I mean,
We
he
shall
got
see.
5.5 hours. I think, you know what? I think he can get to the bonus hour today at least before he has to start doing them jumping jacks. Miller and Moulton. Randy Moss talking Derby next hour.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. The roster's not good, ambient heat. Colorado's not. This is the Pac-12. They're not playing in Conference USA. I'll take any bet. I'll take any bet that you want, and I'll give you odds, and we'll give the money to someone before it starts that they don't win the conference. Any amount of money you want.
Over under 4.5. I'll go under. Their schedule's hard. Look it up. They're non-conference games. They open at TCU. They went 1-11 last year. And he's already starting playing at 75, 80% capacity from a scholarship standpoint.
At TCU, that's a loss. Home for Nebraska, that's probably a loss. Colorado State, they can win. At Oregon, there's another loss. USC, yet another loss. At Arizona State, you know what? They might be able to win that. Stanford, they might be able to win that. I doubt it, but they might. At UCLA is a loss. Oregon State, 50-50 at best. Arizona, 50-50 at best. At Washington State and at Utah.
Arizona's going to be decent next year.
Are they? I've not done my pack.
I had to follow them because we opened with Arizona San Diego State last year. He's building. This is year 3. I think he won 5 or 6 games last year.
Are they getting better players, though, Ambient Heat? They are getting guys that played in an HBCU. That's a big step up. A big step up. He's got a couple of really nice players.
Ambient, I think you'll see year 2. Like, I expect him to make a bowl year 2. I do not expect him to make a bowl this year.
If he made a bowl, it would be monstrous. They go 6-6. Holy cow! What an accomplishment that would be.
It really would. From 1-11, you transfer, 2/3 of the roster and go 6-6 in a major conference. But I think it takes him another year. And they need to go back to the Big 12. Because with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, Deion recruiting in Texas, Deion can recruit in Texas. Boy, if I was the Big 12, I'd want Colorado back desperately.
Ten seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour number 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Cinco de Mayo. Happy Friday. Hope you've had a great week. Thanks for ending it with us in some way, shape, or form here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. And we keep saying floridasportsnetwork.com because if you miss any part of the show, that's where you can go and download our podcast, floridasportsnetwork.com.
And if you're thinking about checking out the Twitch TV channel, twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton, you can actually go to millerandmoulton.com and see it there and see what it's all about. You can't participate in any of the chat rooms or anything like that, but you can watch it from millerandmoulton.com as well.
We still have that? That's fantastic. Hey, are you
across yesterday?
I'm sorry, what?
You know what I came across yesterday? Like I mentioned, today was the day when during the day in my office.
Right.
That's where I used to do the show from. So the studio is all set up. And I don't know, I was looking for a pen or something, and I opened a drawer and I saw a box of business cards. I thought they were mine because I have several jobs, and the one job I need to order more. I'm like, ooh, no, they're not that. They were your business cards.
Oh, the Miller and Moulton business cards?
Right, that you never used, that you made sure you had to have. You don't use the email, nor do you use the business card.
So should you send them to me, or is none of the information relevant anymore?
Still got the right phone number, still got the right email address. Yeah,
Well,
it's very relevant.
Then put them in the mail. Hell.
You're going to use them.
Well, no, but it'll be nice to have on the desk here. It'll make me feel, more homey, more like I'm in an office. Speaking of you and being homey, you throwing a derby party tomorrow?
No.
Really?
Kind of ended with the pandemic. I haven't had one in several years.
Okay. Because that was the thing. That was one of your things.
It was.
You're big into the derby. All right. And you are quite social.
Not as much as I used to be.
Is that you? We blaming the pandemic for that too?
No, blaming me.
Oh, okay.
I'm too damn busy to be social. I've got a 9-year-old daughter. I mean, last night was 2 hours of gymnastics. There's no time for my social circles are the parents on the soccer team, the parents on the softball team, and occasionally I run into Maddie's kindergarten teacher at gymnastics.
Listen, this is spectacular because I literally just had this conversation with a buddy of mine earlier in the week in which his oldest is 4, and he was talking about, friends and the difference between men and women and what have you. And I said, well, you don't need a friend for about 10 more years. I go, once they get to high school, you may want to, if you could find one more friend in your life to get you from your kid getting into high school to your finish line, that would probably serve you well. But you don't need a friend for another 10 years. Mark, you're the same way. You got 5-6 years. You don't need to bring any more friends into your life. By the end of this decade, you got to find a friend. I think you need one more friend once your oldest or youngest gets to high school to carry you to the rest of your life if you're a guy.
Seems really accurate.
Just one more. That's all. One more friend. 2 would be incredible. But one more friend. My buddy's wife said to him, you need a friend. And he was like, no, I don't. So they've been going back and forth about, no, you need friends. He's like, no, really, I don't. And this led to a very uncomfortable conversation in which he said, why? You're my best friend. And she looked right at him and said, and I quote, we're not friends.
Ooh.
And he went, what? And she goes, you're my husband. And so then they went on down the whole road of, she goes, no. I've got friends. I've got good friends. I've got best friends. Okay. You're my husband. You're different. You're in a different category. And he's like, none of this sneaks me into that column. And she goes, that's not how I quote. That's not how I see you. So, which also, I said to him, I said, well, I mean, you're somewhere between a sperm donor and an ATM. I go, figure it out. Don't worry. I said, you got 10 years to find a friend.
Good to know. 21,000 is the text line. It is wide open for your comments on what we've been talking about in the show and on the show today. A little bit of hockey with the Panthers going up 2-0 on the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Rays continue to win every time they play.
How big is the next week and a half? The Rays play the Yankees 7 times in the next week and a half. 3 in St. Pete, 4 in the Bronx. By Mother's Day Sunday, if the Yankees do not have a winning 7-game stretch against the Rays, even if it's just 3-4, Mark, even if they go 3-4 against the Rays, would you be willing to proclaim that the Yankees will not catch the Rays?
All right. Talked about doing that today was a day when. I usually save these things, but the bonus hour, people listening along the network don't get it. But I did this little fact because it was 1, my team, and 2, I liked this little stat. It was today in 1987 that the Detroit Tigers were 11 games back in the AL East. They would go on to win the AL East. So the Yankees are 9 back right now.
And last year, remember, the Braves, about midway through the season, think 70 games into the season, were 10.5 behind the Mets. And the Mets ended up winning 101 games, and the Braves still caught them.
Now, obviously, the AL East is tremendous this year with everybody above 500. I was going to joke and say, what do you mean? What does it matter? The Rays are playing a last-place team. You know what they do with last-place teams.
That's so
this
funny.
Is just another bottom feeder that they've been playing on just another bad team the Rays have been playing, David. That's the way I've looked at it.
That's hysterical to say that with a straight face. Well, can't give the Rays any credit. They beat a last-place team, who's 2 games above 500, but we digress. This is game 4 of a 39-game stretch where they played 39 consecutive games against teams who have winning records. But let's just say we go a week and a half from now. The Rays go 4-3 against the Yankees. The middle 3 games, they each, say they each go 2-1. So this way, the Rays would gain a game in the next week and a half on the Yankees. The Yankees would be 10 back on Mother's Day. 10 back on Mother's Day with 4 teams in between them and first place.
10 back and could be 500. Because the way you drew that up, they'd still be a game above. With what you just described, they'd go 5-5 over those 10.
Right, so they'd be 2 games above 500. So they'd be 22-20. They'd be a quarter of the way through the season. They'd be 10 back. The Rays, by the way, would be 32-10. Oh, boy. I actually think if the Yankees don't gain any ground, we come on the air Monday the 15th, and the Yankees haven't cut it to less than 9. I actually don't think they win the East. I'd be willing to make that bet, even with 120 games left.
I'd be willing to make the bet now because I didn't pick them to win the East. I didn't pick them to finish second in the East. I picked them to finish third in the East because I thought, and you and I have talked about this so much, and it's a similar team from last year. They didn't make a whole lot of changes. Was it the 50-20 Yankees who got off to that great start and cruised their way into winning the division, playing a little bit above 500 baseball? Which Yankee team was it?
Yeah, didn't they win 9? Didn't they go 49-43 in the last 92? I think. And then in the playoffs, they were basically a 500 team. So the Yankees played 4.5 months of, they were okay. They were maybe a 6 seed. Maybe they'd sneak into the playoffs with the way they played the last 4 months of the season. But the first 2 months carried them.
And this year, they're banged up the first 2 months. Their pitching staff's a mess.
Here's another reason why this is big for both the Rays and the Yankees. Remember, we don't play 19 times anymore. We play 13. Well, hell, the Yankees and Rays are going to play half their games against one another in the next week and a half. I mean, Yankee fan, try to win at least 4 of these 7. You don't have a lot of head-to-head opportunities to beat these guys and gain ground the rest of the way. I mean, you play 6 times in the last 4.5 months.
And I know you're out there, Yankee fan. What do you think? 21,000 is the text line.
And by the same token, Rays fan, would you feel confident? It's kind of like, we're about to ask Florida Panthers fans, of which there are 7 of you. Do you feel confident winning the first 2 on the road? I mean, remember, we just watched a playoff series 2 weeks ago. The Rangers went in and won the first 2 on the road, and they're sitting home watching the playoffs. I mean, this is hockey. I mean, this might be a bad thing. The Panthers now are coming home. They've won 5 in a row, 4 of them away from home. You sure they want to come back home? You sure Florida's going to close this thing out? But if you're a Rays fan, if you can win the next week and a half against the Yankees and increase your lead over them to, even if you just go from 9 to 10, do you feel confident? You know what? We're going to finish ahead of the Yankees this year. Because I do. I do. And the Rays are much better equipped for this next week and a half than the Yankees are. From a starting pitching standpoint, from the health of the lineup, the whole deal, production. Mark, I don't know if you saw the comment in our Twitch chat room. The Yankees have 1 hitter, I think, with an OPS of 900. The Rays have 6. Or no, actually, the Yankees have none. None. And the Rays have 6 in their lineup. And the highest on the team is Judge. And he's on the injured list, I think, for the first series. I think he comes back next week. Judge apparently not happy he was put on the IL.
You beat me to it. Not happy at all.
He wanted to play in this series. That's why. I think he looked at him and said, I could have been the DH in this series.
So there's a lot more at stake for the Yankees here in the next 10 days than there is for the Rays. But what the Rays can accomplish if they can win the 2 series against the Yankees could put the Yankees in a spot where they're in a real bind.
Oh, wow. If they actually won both series, I mean, they're playing the 4-gamer in New York. So if they took 3 out of 4 in the Bronx after 2 out of 3 in St. Pete, hell, the Yankees be about 12 back. They might not even be 500 quarter of the way through the season.
Somebody's getting fired.
Don't get me started. I'm trying to behave. You know what I think of Brian Cashman. Most overrated executive in sports. Miller and Moulton.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I can't believe the Ottawa Senators are going to go for $1 billion.
I know.
And I know Snoop's not the main money, but how much money Snoop got?
I mean, do you think he's thrown in 50? Which would make you what, a 5% owner? I mean,
Yeah.
100 big 10%, right?
10%.
Spitz, I don't understand. Steve Kerr, the only coach still employed of the last four.
To win the NBA championship. The last 4 NBA, there's only one coach left.
Oh, okay. So it was Kerr, and it was
Nurse.
Well, Nurse was 2019,
right?
Oh yeah, what's his face who won it?
In the bubble.
Yeah, the Lakers. He got fired.
Mike
Budenholzer in 21.
Mike Brown.
Okay, got it. And Kerr last year. So okay, yeah.
Vogel. That's okay. Thank you, Spitz.
He lived down the street from Enfield. Him and his wife were walking out of the house when I went to visit him. I laughed. I said, boy, you guys are taking a step down. Amanda's like, that's okay. I like you. Okay. Snoop's net worth is $300 million. I'll be damned.
I love the fact that Stuart Mandel yesterday did a top 25 for college football that he updated from his first time since January the 10th because of the portal.
So his May 4th top 25 is the update. That's important, though.
But he moved LSU to 2 for what it's worth.
Well, I will say, if you want to place a bet, would you bet LSU to win the West and not Alabama?
Get much better odds.
Alabama doesn't have
that golf shot. I play golf. I see several every time I play.
Alabama doesn't have a quarterback. This could be the worst quarterback room since Saban took the job.
Canada relief, that's a tricky, good question right there.
Juju Smith-Schuster. He played on the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, I think it's Schuster too.
Well, RCB, the reason it's big is we don't have the 12-team playoff yet. Because it makes you wonder, let's just say Florida State loses really close. LSU neutral field at Clemson. Can they make the playoff? Even if they come back and beat Clemson and win the ACC title at 11-2. Think they'd make the playoff?
I'm sorry, say that again. I got a text that was weird.
No, that's fine. RCB on the Twitch chat room, how big's the FSU-LSU game? And I'm like, it's huge because we're not to the 12-team playoff yet. So let me throw this out there quickly. Oh, we're coming back.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Randy Moss of NBC Sports. He's at the Derby. We got the Oaks today. Mark, you can get in your Oaks questions.
I'm going to.
And we'll get in some more Derby questions as well. A trainer got suspended. All his horses taken out of the race yesterday afternoon. Randy Moss of NBC Sports will join us. We're talking Derby. They go to post right before 7 o'clock Saturday.
Horse racing's Randy Moss.
Correct.
Horse racing's Randy Moss.
Right. And that's why I said NBC Sports. I figured people would then go, wait, Randy Moss isn't with NBC. It's a different Randy Moss.
Felipe over there this morning before the show looked at me. He goes, is this guy's name really Randy Moss?
Remember, he's older. He was Randy Moss before Randy Moss. He'll join us coming up next segment. Felipe with the Clutch Vodka play of the day coming up in a handful of minutes. So we were talking a little college football during the break there. If you follow us on the Miller and Moulton Twitch channel, little college football talk. And I'll tell you what, I'll make you a prediction. Alabama does not win the West 2 years in a row. How about that? Huh? Now, I will say they get the teams they lost to at home this year. Tennessee comes to them. LSU comes to them. But they don't have a quarterback. just saying, if I mean, come on, it can't be Alabama, Georgia every year, can it?
Why not?
Wasn't last year.
I like it.
I know. So does CBS. And this is their last year, so they'd probably take it. But just throwing a shekel out there, I don't think they win the West.
All right, does Michigan repeat in the Big Ten East? Are you ready to make that statement yet?
And there are some that believe this is actually their best team of this, what would be a 3-year run. I actually think, though, it could be Penn State's best team since they had Saquon. Like, I think Penn State's legit. And I think that coach is a used car salesman. I think he can recruit, but I don't think he can coach. All right. But they're good this year. I'm just saying.
Win a big game.
I know.
Win a big game.
I know.
Text lines open at 21,000-21-000. We asked Yankees fans what they thought of the upcoming season. This one says, as a Yankee fan, I can start to look to baseball now that the Maple Leafs have shattered my heart. Good that 0-2 can have you quit on the Maple Leafs. This Yankee fan, a lot more confidence as the Yankees have around $200 million on the injury list. When they come back, they can make a run on the Rays. See if they can come back and stay healthy.
It's been brought up, though. Are the Yankees not built for how baseball has drastically changed beginning this year? The Yankees are trying to get younger and more athletic, but the Yankees are big, old, and slow at a lot of positions on the field. And this is becoming a younger, more athletic game. And the older you are, usually the more time you spend on the injured list. And guess what the Yankees are doing? Again. And so one has to wonder, these rule changes, no more shift. You can find more holes. The running game. I mean, when's the last time the Yankees had a running game? That's a real thing now in baseball. It's back. Like the Rays have a running game. You know who has a running game? The Braves. Braves have guys who can run. They got 6 guys who can hit 25 homers, and they got 6 guys who can steal 20 bases.
I don't know if the game's changed that much yet. I will be curious. The thing about the $200 million on the injured list, if they all come back and stay healthy, then, yeah, they can make a run at getting near the top of that division. But Stanton's never proved that he can stay healthy.
Also, Judge has done it twice. One of them was last year. I'd make a bet with a Yankee fan right now. Is this the last time Judge is on the IL this year? Yay or nay? I'll take the over. If the bet's a half, I'll take the over. He hit the injured list in April. I'll take the over.
Didn't want to hit the injured list.
No. But I'm just saying, I'll take the over. Last year was the aberration, not just the 62 homers, the number of games. He played 150 plus games. He had only played more than 117 games once before last year. I think it's a season, this 10-day stretch for the Yankees, not for the Rays, obviously, but for the Yankees. I think they have to win 4 out of 7 against the Rays.
And obviously, is there any team in sports playing with more confidence right now than the Tampa Bay Rays? I mean, they are expecting to win every night that they play because they are.
Unless it's the Florida Panthers.
How was that again?
Well, you asked, is anybody more confident than Tampa Bay Rays?
It was the laugh that I'm more concerned with than anything else.
5 in a row against Boston and Toronto, baby.
That was somewhat sinister.
Remember, game 5 against Boston, Marchant's got a breakaway at the end of regulation. Literally, the series is on his stick. I mean, the Panthers were as close as you could be to elimination. It's unbelievable, this run that they're on.
Last night, down 2 spit, score 1 in the first, 2 in the first, minute 9 of the second. And the Florida Panthers go up 2-0 in the series. Time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. I think I will go to Mr. Hockey himself, Felipe. What do you got for us today, Felipe?
Well, the Maple Leafs asked for Florida, and they got Florida. It was 2-1 heading into the second period, and in the first 66 seconds of that second period, the Panthers got 2 goals from Alexander Barkov and Gus Forsling.
Nylander almost coughed it up, did lose the puck, and now it's Duclair to Barkov. Shot, he scores! Barkov from outside the top of the left circle. He snuck it past Samsonov, and the Panthers tie the game at 2. 19 seconds into the second period. Feed, and it was poked away by Louis Arena. Panthers chance in the offense to make the Chuck right side. Saucer pass Lundell back to Chuck right circle. In front, a chance, Forsling, and he scores, and the Panthers take the lead. 2 goals in the first minute and 6 seconds of the second period. And the Panthers are up 3-2. Gus Forsling off a great feed. And the Panthers are ahead by a goal.
Throw on 35 saves from Sergei Bobrovsky himself. And that's a Panthers W. 2-0 headed back to Florida. Did any of us see this coming?
No. Hell no. Is it over, Mark?
No.
I don't think it is either.
No.
Because I don't trust Bob. There's 2 Bobrovskys, and right now he's a wall. But the other one's lurking. Will he make an appearance in the Toronto series, or will he wait until the conference finals?
Or will he not wait at all and wait till next year? Because this guy has the ability to play 2 months of great hockey. And he was sensational last night. I thought the whole third period that game was going to overtime.
Bobrovsky, 11 saves in the third, said, not happening.
Couple of posts.
Yes.
I mean,
Tavares hit 2 posts. Yep.
One off his mask.
And Alexander Barkov playing to his size and skill for the first time in the postseason. Nice of you to show up, big fella. They need you.
What a performance last night by Bobrovsky. That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Clutch with a K. Check them out online, clutchspirits.com. Miller and Moulton. Randy Moss is next.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. That's what it started. Apparently, it started in America. I mean, it started in America. I don't know. In America, it's more. Love when you get an email or a text message from the school district that says, check your email about a post on social media. We have received information that there is a post circulated in social media threatening a school shooting today. The message is not location specific and has been shared throughout the area. Law enforcement investigating and believe the threat originating outside Southwest Florida and is not credible. Hey.
I'm pretty sure Lee County has, well, they may not at grade schools anymore because of budget cuts a few years ago, but I know middle schools and high schools, I'm pretty positive they've got a sheriff's deputy at every
Grade schools
school.
too.
Okay. Well, I remember a few years ago, they were concerned with the budget, whether or not they could afford to have a sheriff's deputy at every.
They may be retired, but there's a car and there's a sheriff there every day. I usually see him he usually leaves about the time I'm picking Maddie up. Ambien, by the way, good for you on Twitter to have your picture on there. I hate people on Twitter that don't put a picture of themselves next to their page. Lends zero credibility. Every morning you like a tweet, I go, that's what Ambien looks like.
Three horses scratched from when we talked to Kurt Becker yesterday.
Three
horses got removed from the race.
They added one too, though, right?
They added three, I think.
They added three.
I thought they had three horses sitting on the outside that were qualified and ready to go. I know King Russell got added. I don't know who the names of the other two, so. Well, I will say, Ambien, I saw the backup play last year in Arkansas. He can't throw. And I did rewatch the spring game. And neither quarterback that they were counting on looked good. And I don't want to say that they don't have a quarterback, but Nick said they don't have a quarterback, and he took a transfer after the spring game. So, I mean, if you don't want to believe me, I get it. But how about Nick Saban? Is that a good enough source about the Alabama quarterback position?
He's not answering. I'm calling back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Pat Kirwan at the top of the hour. Talk a little NFL. Never a bad thing to talk a little NFL. And we've learned that over the years. It's never a bad thing. Hoping to catch up with Randy Moss of NBC Sports. He's obviously busy. Got the Oaks today, the Derby tomorrow. Hoping to catch up with him, whether it be this segment or sometime next hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. A lot of news at the Derby after we had Kurt Becker on yesterday. I mean, got a trainer who had the 2 horses die. He got suspended. His horse is taken out of the field.
And I believe they had a 5th horse die at Churchill as well.
Really?
I thought that I had read that. So they had one in the paddock that 2 after the race, 2 of this guy's horses, and then 1 in the barn.
And you know, I was looking forward to asking Randy this question. Here are the 3 horses, and you know, I'm not going to pretend as if I know what the heck's going on. But Practical Move was one of the horses. He won the Santa Anita. Lord Miles was one of the horses. He won the Wood Memorial. I mean, it's not like the horses who got scratched hadn't done anything. I know there weren't great odds, but I mean, these horses had won recent races. And one of the horses that got added, King Russell, was the runner-up in the Arkansas Derby. And speaking of which, Randy Moss, NBC Sports, kind enough to join us. We mentioned he's very busy. We appreciate him getting up at this hour, although between the Oaks and the Derby, well, he's not getting a lot of sleep. Is this your favorite weekend of the year, Randy?
I've been up for 3.5 hours, by the way. Yeah, it is. I mean, the Breeders' Cup in horse racing is a big deal too. It's the year-end championship races, and that's huge for us as well. But I mean, the Kentucky Derby is arguably the biggest race in the world. There are other races in Europe and elsewhere that they get a lot of publicity. I've even talked to some people in Europe that have told me that they consider the Kentucky Derby to be the number 1 race. So yeah, it's what we look forward to.
And this year, with the horses dying, with the trainer being suspended, with a lot of late scratches, there's a little more controversy, I guess, for lack of a better term, heading into this Derby than we've had in quite a while, Randy.
Yeah, there is. There is over the last 3, 4, 5 years, there has been a huge increase in vigilance among racetracks and all that about horse safety. So these horses have more eyes on them before the Kentucky Derby than, way more than there used to be 10, 15, 20 years ago, let's say. So that's why you're going to see more scratches, not just this year, but even going forward. Because if the veterinarians see anything that looks slightly suspicious, their radar goes up, and they really examine those horses very, very closely. So that's why Continuar, the other Japanese horse, was scratched. He wasn't training particularly well, didn't look very smooth in the mornings. Lord Miles was scratched because trainer Sappy Joseph had a couple of horses drop dead. Unfortunately, they're studying exactly what went wrong. But Churchill Downs doesn't want that trainer to run a horse in the Kentucky Derby because of that. This is just it's unfortunate, but it's where we are right now in horse safety, and that's really a good thing. All this vigilance.
Randy Moss, NBC Sports, and obviously the Oaks and the Derby. They go to post 6:57 p.m. tomorrow. Their coverage begins a lot earlier than that. Follow Randy on Twitter, Randy_Moss_TV. I just want to get this out of the way. The 3 horses that got scratched yesterday, were you expecting anything out of any of them? I mean, the one won the Santa Anita, the one won the Wood Memorial, or did you think they were just field fillers?
The Santa Anita Derby winner had won back-to-back prep races out there, and was considered an A-list contender. I didn't have him in my picks just because he'd gotten really good trips in those races, but he was definitely on the A-list. Lord Miles was going to be a big long shot. Continuar, the other Japanese horse, I thought he probably was the most likely horse to run last in the Derby. So they didn't really have an impact. And hey, don't be surprised if there are more scratches and maybe even high-profile scratches between now and race time tomorrow.
How good is Forte, and how good can he be?
Forte is the most accomplished horse in the field. He's the most consistent. He's got the best resume. He was the 2-year-old champion last year. He won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year. He won the Florida Derby in his last start. I personally didn't particularly like his Florida Derby win. I thought it was a regression from his previous race, his first start of the year in the Fountain of Youth. To me, you want a Kentucky Derby favorite to come into the Derby on the upswing and not with a race that represented a regression. So I think Forte is a very beatable favorite in here. He deserves to be the favorite on his resume, but I don't particularly like him.
Very interesting. Randy Moss, NBC Sports. Follow him on Twitter, Randy_Moss_TV. Does Tappet Trice have enough speed? I mean, got great odds, okay, and a terrific resume, but with his post position, does he have enough speed?
He has no speed. If your definition of speed is being placed close to the lead early in a race, Tappet Trice has no speed at all. Okay. Forte is a sleek, athletic, nimble. He's the wide receiver. Okay. Tappet Trice is Gronk. He's the big bruiser, the big brute. He's got if you're talking about top end ability, right? Like, think of Tappet Trice as a car. His upper speed is probably faster than any other horse in the race. But getting to that speed, if you mash on the accelerator, it takes Tappet Trice about 10 seconds to respond. So he's not the most agile horse in weaving his way through traffic, 20-horse field, because if he gets stopped, it takes him a while to get wound up again, and that's not what you want. He's a big, long, striding brute. So they're going to try to take him to the outside and get him in the clear and let him get going like a runaway freight train and hope that he's not forced to run too wide, because you got 20 horses. And, with that style, there's a definite possibility that you'll lose too much ground.
When you have two of the favorites lined up next to one another, Angel Empire's in the 13-hole, Forte's in the 14-hole, how will that play out?
Who knows? You can look at post positions and you can say, man, this horse has a perfect post position. He's right in the middle. He's got post position 10 or 11 or 12 or 13. This is ideal. This is just what you want. And then the gate opens and the horse to either side of him veers in and veers out. And suddenly there's a big scrum in the middle and your horse gets wiped out. There's no such thing as knowing what a good post position is, really, and what a bad post position is before the race is run, before those gates open. I like both of those posts on paper. I think they're fine, but I tend to minimize the pre-race analysis of post positions to begin with.
In the last handful of years, we've had some long shots that have won and have certainly been in the money. We've also had horses in the final 5 spots, post positions, that have done really well. Do you think that that's just a thing, or should we take a look at the horses that are in post position 16 through 20 this year and take a flyer on one of them?
I don't think 80 to 1 is going to be a thing like it was with Rich Strike, but I think overall, if you just look at the Kentucky Derby from 35,000 feet, you're probably going to start seeing more decently, moderately mid-price long shot winners in the Derby than you did 20, 25 years ago, let's say. And the reason is pretty simple. Horses nowadays run much less often coming into the Kentucky Derby than they ever have before. It's a trend. Trainers are racing them less and less and less. And horses improve with experience. So some of these horses, when they get to the Kentucky Derby, there's such limited evidence that you don't really know what their ceiling is. They might improve sharply in the Kentucky Derby just because, they're in that cycle of improvement that in past decades we would have already seen, and we would already have a really good idea of how good these horses are. On paper last year, based on what he had done to that point, Rich Strike had absolutely no chance on paper. No chance at all. Now, hindsight, you see him with the Kentucky Derby. He ran a couple of other decent races. He is a much better horse than anybody realized that he was a year ago at this time.
Well, with that being said, is there anything in the upper odds that you like a little bit for tomorrow?
Oh yeah, there are several horses who have a solid chance on paper that are going to be a nice price. Skinner was a really close third in the Santa Anita Derby. He was arguably the best horse in the Santa Anita Derby. He's probably going to be 20-1. He's kind of in the same boat as Tapit Trice. He's a stretch runner that's got to, maybe circle the field instead of going through the middle, but he's in with a big chance. A horse called Two Fills ran his last race, showed a lot of improvement last race on a synthetic surface at a smaller track in Kentucky. A lot of times horses run differently and run better, some horses, on synthetic surfaces than they do on dirt. That's kind of been a historic trend of the Kentucky Derby, but not always. Animal Kingdom, Rich Strike, both came from synthetic racing surfaces and won the Derby. Two Fills, if the synthetic wasn't the reason for the improvement, he's got an excellent chance to win. So that's just a couple of examples of horses that are going to be 15, 20, 25-1 that are in with a good shot.
I'm throwing my money on Verifying, by the way. All right, 15-1.
He's got a big shot.
Yeah. Just barely lost to Tapit Trice in the Bluegrass. I don't know. I'm also in this day and age, Elon spends $44 billion for Twitter. What are we talking? The blue check, the Verify, anyway. All right. Very quickly. You sent a tweet out a year ago in which you talked about how many trainers don't run their horses in the Preakness after the Derby. And you said you have a solution. Would you change the Triple Crown?
Totally. It's a no-brainer. The only reason the Triple Crown hasn't been changed is that horse racing is such a traditional sport that people get too caught up in that and they don't look at ways to improve it, right? If the NFL had the horse racing mentality, right, you still have the goalpost on the finish line. You would have, or on the end zone
goal line, right?
You would have on the goal line. You would have, none of these rule changes. Baseball, you wouldn't be playing games at night. You wouldn't have the designated hitter. You wouldn't have the pitch clock for sure. NBA, you wouldn't have a 3-point line. Horse racing has got to change with the times when they can make improvements and spacing out the Triple Crown races, so that the best horses run in all three races like they used to, is something that's got to be done.
Who do you like in the Oaks today, Randy?
It's not a really good race, to be honest with you. The last couple of years, the Oaks was sensational. This year, on paper at least, not so good. Wet Paint is the horse that is the favorite, and I think she's a legitimate favorite. She may be last early. She comes from way back. The man, as she got some kind of a kick, at least compared to the horses she's been running against. So I think Wet Paint and South Lawn are clearly the two best horses in the Oaks today.
Randy, with all that's on your plate, we really appreciate you making time for us. Love your insight. Continued success with NBC. Enjoy the weekend. Hopefully we can talk again.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Randy Moss, NBC Sports. Follow him on Twitter, Randy_Moss_TV.
And we don't ask him his Derby pick because they pay him a lot of money on NBC to give that tomorrow.
Right.
That's why I went with the Oaks for you.
So I'm going with
Forte, though.
What?
He doesn't like Forte as much as Kurt Becker did.
No, Kurt Becker's going in with the favorite. I'm going Verifying, 15-1. That's enough to pique my interest.
I like Angels Empire. I don't like the odds at 6-1. It was a lot better yesterday when it was 10-1.
So do you like my Elon Musk, Twitter theory with the verifying, a lot of times names you look back, War Emblem came right after 9/11. I mean, it just Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan next.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, fellas.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm in Pittsburgh today.
Oh yeah?
Really?
Hockey?
Yeah. As always. This never ends.
Where are the rinks you're playing at here?
Oh, you know where we are? We're it's a beautiful situation. Mario Lemieux has a big rink here in Cranberry, just north of the city, maybe 10 miles north or so. It's gorgeous. And I think this is where the Penguins train. So it looks like it's all going to, not all of it. They do bounce around. There's so many teams in town. So, but it's literally 500 yards from this hotel. So I think we're going to be there quite a bit. Lots of Canadian teams here.
Maple Leafs?
Yeah. How about those Devils? Come on now. Ranger heads.
Oh.
What a joke.
Listen, your team losing's one thing, but your team not showing up. I mean, man, that's disappointing.
Yeah. In football, that head coach fired.
Well, he may be, even though I don't think he's to blame. But, I mean, I actually think the GM should surgically start tearing that roster apart, but that's harder to do.
Yeah, and it's you know, in football, and the analogy may not work, but the salary cap doesn't let you cut the players. It gives you the reason to cut the coach. You can't. This is how a GM would be talking to an owner. You cannot ever get in this situation again and have the same thing happen. If that ever happened again, everyone would be fired. So that's why I always think the coach has to go in these. Not right, but it's the way it is. What's new with you? I was fascinated listening to Randy talking about the race and all. I haven't really stayed up with it this year, and I love horse racing.
I know you do.
I just can't get myself out of this cycle of fucking football and hockey. So great. Now, next week, I'm just tickled to death that I have a full schedule next week, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Just make sure you don't lose this whole thing. I don't know. Jacksonville tomorrow night. I lose track of the days. Today's Friday. So Saturday, Sunday up in Jacksonville, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. Bum, bum, bum.
Is this the equipment you're using for Sirius?
No.
Okay.
Well, no. You know what happened yesterday? My computer, thank God I always bring a second computer. Right in the middle of the show, my computer decided to update software.
Oh.
And there was no stopping it.
Nope.
We tried everything. So it just came on and was going to take 15 minutes.
Right.
And no matter what. And I usually have that crap programmed for 3 o'clock in the morning. Decided to do it at 4 in the afternoon. So it took me a while to re-hook up the other stuff. Kind of ridiculous. So the tech guy comes on with me. He goes, "Okay, this happens. Now let's get out. We'll get out of it. So here are your directions." I follow directions, and he goes, "Oh, sorry, it's a hard update." Oh, okay. So you didn't do anything for me, did you? You're in your job. You did not achieve anything.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Third and final hour of Miller and Moulton on this Cinco de Mayo. Happy Friday. Hope your week has gone well. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show, kind enough to join us once again, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat joins us from Pittsburgh. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine, fellas, and it's a good time for me in the football thing to look at the effect of things. We talked 2 weeks ago about the explosion of defensive tackles. And bang, right on the spot, the Giants get their guy done for what he said he wanted, and $25 million a year. And there's a few more to come. Chris Jones, Leonard Williams, those guys are just excited because they know they're next, and they're going to make $27 million a year.
And Pat, you've talked about this all the time. I mean, is that getting a little high for that position when you look at terms of percentage of the cap? Where are you starting to look at where there are problems? Is it team by team, what positions? When you start breaking down the cap and with these high salaries coming out, how do you try to break it down?
Well, every team would love to have two big tackles, right? And now you got a real force on defense, but you can't afford them anymore. And the Giants are going to be a great example of that. They made the decision on this one, but how do they keep Williams? They won't be able to. So it's we all like, well, they can't keep Williams. Really? Think about what it's going to do to their defense. So that's where we're at. You can't keep two guys anymore inside, not at the cost. No way for two premier guys. So you got to get back in the draft and get a young one next to the good one and hope that the young one is very good. That's what's going to happen to this thing. It happens with every other position. How many guys can afford to have two high-priced wide receivers and then have the rest of the team? So you see at corners, same thing. You got an elite corner. Is the other guy going to get paid on the other side? Probably not. So that's what happens. And that's maybe what the NFL always wanted to achieve. If the they really believe parity was important, that's how you're going to get it.
And the Dolphins are probably going to have to make a decision between Jalen Ramsey and Xavier McDaniel after this season. It likely will be X that goes because they're both making top dollar. The Giants, as Pat mentioned, likely not to bring back Williams next year. For the record, Donald makes 31, and then there's a clear level of demarcation. You start getting, like Dexter Lawrence signed 4 for $90, 22.5, and that seems to be the beginning of where the next level is. Jeffrey Simmons, Deron Payne, Lawrence, they're at 22.5, but as Pat pointed out, next year, Jones and Williams and the like will want to take that and get it to 25 and then some. Did they sign the right guy, Pat?
Probably. I think so. I talked to someone over there yesterday. They were pretty excited that this was a target of theirs, unlike Saquon Barkley, who's not really a target of theirs. But you got to, here's the ripple effect as I see it. You can say Ed Oliver isn't very good, but he's now in line for more money than you ever wanted to pay him. Let's call him the $19 million guy, the $18 million, whatever he was going to get before this onslaught of money for tackles. He's going to get more. And that's how this thing works its way all the way down to B players. So that becomes a problem. What are you going to do with Christian Wilkins? He's a good player.
Yeah.
He's looking at these things going, excuse me, put my tape on. I'm pretty damn good. When I watched them against Tampa in the summer, no one could block the guy. So it's going to work its way down. And then the draft didn't have a lot of depth at tackle. So if you were thinking a year or two from now, I got to pay a mediocre guy more than I want to pay, let me draft a tackle now so I can walk away from him. There weren't that many tackles available. So some teams are going to get stuck having to overpay, and they know they're overpaying.
Will this help the rest of the free agent market? I mean, you keep talking, it's 1 year deal after 1 year deal after 1 year deal. Wouldn't you think now with this influx of at that position that you'd want to sign a guy for 2 years?
Yeah, absolutely. You'd like to get him, but he knows what you're trying to do. I mean, seriously, Saquon Barkley, I don't want to keep referring to him, but if he was smart, he'd take 2 times 10 and be happy, but he won't do it. So he's going to land up on another franchise tag next year, which, by the way, they don't even have to issue to him if he gets hurt this year. So he's boxed himself in. The only guy that's won this war is Lamar, and he did it without an agent. So here's my question. Do the really elite players need an agent?
Well, Pat, it's funny you say that. The NBA was set up 20 years ago when Grant Hill became a free agent. There was a max contract, and Grant Hill got rid of his agent, and he just hired a lawyer and agreed, I'll pay you X amount. You just take a look at the paperwork. Make sure that the I's and T's are dotted. I'll pay you $5,000 or whatever, because I know what I'm going to make. I know what my contract's going to be. It's just a matter of where am I going to play? Detroit, San Antonio, Orlando. He went to Orlando. But he got rid of his agent because it's like, I pretty much know what I'm going to make.
Yeah, I think the guys in the middle income guys, they need agents. Someone's got to hustle for them. But when you are on the top of this thing, like does Mahomes need his agent to redo his deal? No, he's just going to wait for Burrow and Herbert to get done. And then he's going to walk in and say, okay, 5-year extension because the club likes those long-term deals. And I'm the highest paid guy by 5%, 10%. That's it. And what are they going to do? Say no?
Well, that would be interesting, though, because he's under contract. Because he was stupid enough to sign a long-term deal. I mean, it would be interesting because I'm with you, Pat. We said it when he signed it, that this was not a good deal for Mahomes and a great deal for the Chiefs. And in 12 months, or maybe even 3 months, Mahomes is going to look at his contract and go, what the heck?
They've already told him that this is not, it's 10 years so we can manage the salary cap, but they'll be redoing it. They've already told him that. But here's what he can do right away. And they're not going to be painful with this. They can't wait to extend him because they love the 10-year structure. So they'll put 5 years on top of this one. So it's 10 again. He can always be a pain in the rear end with them if he will not renegotiate his roster bonuses down to signing bonuses. That's how they get cap space. And he can say, nah, you know what? Let's just leave it a roster bonus. Okay, come on in. Let's negotiate. That's what would happen.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the only thing they need agents for are things outside of football. Inside of football at this point for the elite players, I think you're both on to something. I don't know if we'll go that way, but it certainly makes the most sense because it keeps most money in the player's pocket, and that's what they're all about. So we shall see how that boils out. All right, Pat. How many free agents are still out there? How much activity are we going to have here now that the draft is done and with the camps opening? Are we still going to see a lot of action?
Well, we see 20 signings this week. These are post-draft. Hey, we didn't get a corner. Hey, we need another safety. And they set all these deals up. Brandon Bean the other day and I talked about it. Why were not a lot of veterans traded during the draft? So that was my question to Brandon. The answer was because there's a lot of guys left in free agency that I don't have to give any compensation to, and I can offer them a veteran minimum. He had Latavius Murray deal set up before the draft. I used to do the same thing. And hey, if we don't get a running back, we're going to try to sign you on Monday. You good with that? Here's the deal. So 20 of these guys, the names just keep rolling in of guys that are taking deals. Jimmy Miller yesterday said he didn't even know Greg Little wasn't on the Dolphins anymore. And all of a sudden he signed another deal. Neville Hewitt, you can go right through all these guys that are signed, McLeod, Penny Hart. So yeah, it's just so many guys still left out there. You can go fill your roster. And here's the best one. And they changed this rule a couple of years ago. You can bring guys in during these mini camps, the post-draft mini camps. You don't even have to sign them to contracts. You bring them in as tryouts, and you bring in 10 of those guys. And they're there for the weekend. And at the end of it, if you like one or two of them, you sign them. So there's just so many ways to fortify your roster if you want.
Well, Pat, I could be wrong here, but I've got guys who are 30 years of age who are free agents. I got Teddy Bridgewater, I got Frank Clark, Leonard Floyd, Marcus Peters, and Jadeveon Clowney, who are 30. Okay, and I got 27-year-old safety John Johnson, who was great with the Rams, terrible with the Browns. He's a free agent. I mean, those are good players.
They're very good players. And, when you need a pass rusher, and Ngakoue and Frank Clark and Kyle Van Noy and Justin Houston, and you've mentioned Floyd and Jadeveon Clowney and Robert Quinn are still available, why would you trade for one? You can get those guys on one-year deals for very cheap money. So the thing Mark brought up is the same problem. Every year, hundreds of these guys sign one-year deals. And every year, we get about 35% of the league, basically free agents. The clubs have it made. There's always a pile of talent looking for a job.
Pat, when the Niners signed Brandon Allen, it's one of those acquisitions that most people ignore. So we're trying to figure out, is that because Brock Purdy's not going to be able to play for quite a while and they need 3 quarterbacks? And so now their 3 quarterbacks will be Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, and Brandon Allen, all who have started games in the NFL? Or does this officially set up the fact that they're probably going to trade Trey Lance before training camp? Which one do you think it is?
Well, you're the GM on the show here, and you like the second scenario.
Well, I keep thinking, I just keep thinking, Pat, Minnesota has made the decision they are moving on from Cousins. Well, you got to move on to somebody, and they got nobody.
Well, the problem with that, and I agree that might be a landing spot, and we all know they already tried and all that stuff, but really, Kirk Cousins wins games. You're going to tell your public, we're going to replace him with a guy that the 49ers don't want. Oh, by the way, he's never played. I don't think that's going to fly with the Viking fans.
Pat, it's strange. It shouldn't fly, but they don't like him. They seem willing to try anybody else. And if they go 5-12 with that quarterback, they'll go, all right, let's try again.
Well, that might be true. But they got to replace talent for talent. And whether you like Kirk Cousins or not, he wins a lot of games. I bet you he'd take a deal. I know we got to get to a break here, but he'd take a deal less than the new market. And the new market's $50 million a year. He ain't going in that range.
How do you move on? If Minnesota moves on for him, then shame on them.
I'm with you, Mark.
It's been their defense, not their offense.
Right. I can't look. His problem is postseason, not very accomplished, but he gets them there, and he is a better player. I think sometimes the fans, the GM knows, the fans don't understand how lousy the quarterback talent is in the NFL, and he is not one of the bad ones. And I'm not even a fan of his.
It's 34-year-old Kirk Cousins making $35 million a year. First world problems. Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show. We'll come back. We'll do a few more minutes with Pat joining us live from Pittsburgh. Miller and Moulton, happy Cinco de Mayo. Thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
How's the show going for you guys?
The show's going great. The show's not the problem. The network's the problem.
How do we fix that?
Well, we're trying to ourselves. We're putting together a package. I think I'll have it together within the next week that we're sending to potential affiliates, hoping to have a couple of them grab us up before football season. And then if we can increase from 4 to 6, and then, put the burden really on the guy who owns the network and say, here you go. I will say, Pat, if we had gambling in Florida, we'd be filthy rich. The fact that we don't have gambling has crushed us. We'd have 8 to 10 affiliates, and we'd be filthy rich.
So why aren't you broadcasting in states that have gambling?
Well, because he wants us to do a Florida-based show. I mean, I will say we had somebody who listens to us from Wisconsin who took to Twitter 2 weeks ago and asked the Wisconsin network to pick us up and run us instead.
Well, that's my point about. Does Georgia have gambling? I don't follow where gambling is.
No, Georgia doesn't have gambling.
Alabama doesn't have gambling. No.
What's the closest state that does?
Mississippi.
Yeah. That's my point. Your content is national. It's not just Florida football. It's the whole league and it's everything else. So I don't know why you wouldn't be sending out some stuff to those affiliates, if you will, in states with gambling and just say, you're missing an opportunity here. I don't know your business well enough, but if gambling is going to make you wealthy, that I'd be talking to shows in gambling states.
Well, it's not talking gambling, it's just having gambling. If we had gambling, then all
gambling money follows.
Yeah, would just follow. It's like if you're in the golf business, you advertise on live golf. I mean, it'd be the same. If you're in the gambling business, you advertise on sports radio.
Well, okay, people in Florida gamble, so how do they gamble?
Illegally.
Do they gamble online?
Probably overseas.
Covers, maybe.
My point is, if there's an audience of gambling,
oh, trust me, we've and I will say our guy is aware of it because he's in Michigan where they have gambling, and he's tied into both casinos and DraftKings, and so he knows how to get gambling money. He's getting a ton of it, but he can't convince, the Seminole casinos to spend money with us. He can't convince a DraftKings to spend significant money with us when they can't get the kind of return that they want.
in the fastest growing state in the country.
I know. It's
the biggest, to me, the biggest. I mean, there's a lot of things that people don't like about DeSantis, a lot of things people love about him. The only thing I care about is that he screwed up the gambling thing, and he screwed it up badly.
Yes, we should have had gambling a year and a half ago. Honestly.
Is it on the horizon?
No, because of him. He's totally, he wants to only take care of the Seminole casino people, and he wants to screw everybody else. All the DraftKings, the
FanDuels, and that hurts the consumer at the end.
Right. So he's trying to change federal law, and he's losing in court. If he had done it the way the other 30 states had done it, we would have had gambling a year and a half ago. And the Seminole tribe still would have been making a ton of money. They just wouldn't have been making all of the money.
It's Le'Veon Bell. In football terms. It's what it is. You sit that time out, you never get that money back.
That's true. Unless your name's Lamar. He just got it all back.
Yeah, but he didn't sit out a year.
I know. We did mention he'll never see that money again. Well.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
It's 21 minutes past the hour. Our remaining moments with Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joining us live from Pittsburgh on this Cinco de Mayo. He joins us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, a dozen locations in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. Pat, you have talked for a while, and we began this hour talking about Dexter Lawrence and the $22.5 million deal, which puts him, right around tied for third for defensive tackles. The running back market, we've talked about it for a while now. It's going down and down and down. There's a guy making 16 and a guy making 15, and then Derrick Henry's making a little less than 13. Reportedly, the Giants have offered Saquon 13. Would make him the third highest paid running back. He keeps saying no. Saquon's not dumb. How can he look at the market and think he's going to get more than that?
Let's go with dumb, because he has a chance, but I think those chances are over. Honestly, when they say they're going to circle back and start talking to him, I think they're going to try to tell him, here's the market. Since you decided to turn down, I think it was 12.5, it's gone south on you. And McCaffrey, I'll ask you this question. Do you think the three guys that are in the spots 1, 2, and 3 would get the same money today?
No.
And Kamara is not going to be around much longer. His production isn't where it should be. And certainly Derrick Henry's coming closer to the end. So maybe McCaffrey would hold on because he's got unique skills. But the whole market's coming down. It may be the first position that the franchise tag 2 years from now is going to be less than it is now. There's a chance when you start averaging those where these salaries are that you could be going south on a franchise tag. And I don't think that's ever happened.
Doesn't this put more and more pressure on the GMs to be great drafters. I mean, we went through all of the fifth-year options that weren't taken. And Pat, if you're going to, the D tackle position's getting high. Every position, even with the cap going up the way it is. I mean, is this the era of the elite drafter then? Because it's the only way to fill out your roster and be competitive.
Well, the only way to win in this league now on more than a one-year basis like the Rams, the only way to do it is to draft a quarterback who's great right away. And you get the 4-year window to fill out your roster while he's on a rookie wage. If you get that, like Philadelphia did, and Seattle was always the model, then you win. But if you're Green Bay and San Francisco and the guys you trade up for don't deliver, or they haven't delivered yet, you're near the end of their contract. That's why when the young guy out there at Love just takes the 2-year deal, I understood why he took it. He knew what was going to happen. The option numbers were too big. So if you don't find the quarterback, Mark, you don't have a chance to build the roster.
Is there a team that you sat down, because you sit down and go over your research, if you will, often? Is there a team now that the draft is done that you sat down, you took a look at their offseason, and you went, I'll be damned, they're not bad. They're actually better than I've been thinking they are.
Well, I stay away from Seattle all the time because of my friendship. But when you look at their roster and the state of affairs in the NFC West, you got to think they should win the division. That they're that good now.
Wait a minute. Over San Francisco?
Yeah. San Francisco is going to be playing with Sam Darnold for the month of September and maybe half of October. I don't think they're going to be in very good shape. And if they ever decide, well, we could trade Trey Lance, now we got to play the guy, I'd be really careful about them. You asked me for a team that I think's better.
Yeah,
Seattle can go toe-to-toe with them opening day. And that is an interesting situation out there. Who else do I think? I think we're just – now, who are the teams that everyone thinks are going to come in last in their division? Well, Pittsburgh is sitting here and people go, well, no, Lamar's back and Cincinnati's got Burrow and Cleveland's going to – Pittsburgh, they're probably not that good. Be careful. Study their draft. They went big. I was talking to Omar about it. They just went and got big people. And so there's a team I think is way better than people think. And I just think that the young quarterback is going to move along here. And if he becomes as good as I think he could be, now they're in the position we just talked about. You got a good quarterback on a rookie contract. You'll clean out all your cap problems, and you'll start signing good young players.
Well, Pat, you're preaching now to my choir. Mark's already tired of listening to me because I'm pounding the Steelers drum. They won 9 games last year. They've improved dramatically. You look, they've got wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, and a young quarterback, and the line is finally at least average, and they've got a soft schedule this year. I mean, my bet, Pat, if I make one bet on the NFL this year, is the Steelers over 8.5 wins.
Well, let's just see if your Kentucky Derby bet comes through before you start losing extra money.
Touche.
Record, David Moulton picked verifying in the Derby, verifying in training yesterday, dumped his rider, and that was a little bit of a miscue. So the horse is excited as David is coming into it. Hey, on the other side of it, Pat, who's a team that you think is a little overrated right now?
Well, I'm not so sure about Baltimore, for starters, and everyone thinks, well, Lamar's back. Well, this is the Lamar that really never became in the pocket passer. When he says, I'm going to throw for 6,000 yards, those are kind of like dumb statements. What have you done in your past would indicate to me you're going to throw for 6,000 yards? So I don't know where they are at all. Teams that, well, I think we all know Green Bay is going the wrong way and probably for the next couple of years. I don't think really, maybe Minnesota's a team that's probably going to surprise me in a negative way because of the defense, like you point out, Mark. So people think, well, Rodgers is gone, Minnesota will win the division. Well, hold on now. There's a team called Detroit. I don't know if they can handle success yet, but that kind of stuff. Down in the NFC South, We could talk about that division for a whole show and bore the living daylights out of everybody because who's good?
Well, I will say this about Atlanta. They got a number one receiver, they got a number one tight end, and they just drafted the best running back. Okay.
And you didn't say anything about the quarterback.
Well,
yet,
yeah,
so.
because we don't know if he can play. And, we'll see. We'll see. He needs to become their Russell Wilson.
Let's see if they can figure out how to use that number one tight end.
Yeah.
That would be a start.
Right. Throwing to him instead of asking him to block. That would be start. I'm going to give plaudits to the Bills. I like what they've done this week. I think Latavius Murray, that was probably about $1 million and a half a year. He rushed for 2 100-yard games late in the season last year. I mean, he still has, tread on the tires. Poona Ford, solid lineman in the middle of the defensive line for $3 million. It seems as if on the cheap, they are trying to plug some of their weaknesses. Do you agree?
Well, I'm not a big Poona Ford guy, 5'10" tackle. If he has to play a lot, I'd be concerned about that. And you kind of went right to the core of some of their problems. Run defense. I like them. I think the division, in a sense, is catching them. I'm not convinced at all that Miami's going to be good. I think they're sitting there holding their breath about their quarterback. But on paper, they look pretty good. Do I like Buffalo? Of course I do. The quarterback, when I love promises he can't keep. I'm going to run less. Right. The second they're down by 7 points, he's going to put his track shoes on. Look, the league's upside down and inside out, and that's the fun of football. We could make a case for and against almost any team. And all of them are one injury away from a disaster.
Pat Kirwan, thanks for your time. Enjoy your weekend in Pittsburgh, and we'll talk to you next week sometime. We'll figure it out on the fly, okay?
Oh, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it.
There
In the
you go.
meantime, good luck with your money and the horses. I'll know if you win. If Verify comes in, I know exactly where your money's heading, Pittsburgh. And I'm here now, so just call. I'll make the bet for you since you can't bet in Florida.
Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's moving the chains. CBS's NFL Today Show joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired through Tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and Tiki Bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Good news is we can still bet on the ponies in Florida. Not anything else, but we can bet on the horses. Which, think about that. And, I mean, to be honest, in support of what DeSantis is trying to do, I can bet on my phone with Twin Spires for horse racing, but I can't bet on my phone for a football game. It is literally the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
And Felipe, you'd be making a lot more money too. What I don't understand is that the state of Florida was supposed to lose in federal court in like February. Now it's May. I don't think that decision's come down yet. All this time is killing us. We needed them to lose 3 months ago. Because the other thing is he might have rectified it before he started running for president. Now, forget it. I'm just waiting for when do the Seminoles say to him, we're missing out on all this football gambling money. We got to do something here. We got to cut our losses, do something. I mean, this is costing us hundreds of millions of dollars here. I mean, take a look at the betting numbers in Jersey and New York and just multiply them by what Florida's would be. Yeah, but Arch, they're losing money. They've lost 2 football seasons, and they're about to lose a third. They're not going to get it all. They're not. It's federal law. It ain't getting changed. You say to him, Ron, I appreciate the effort. I appreciate what you did. You tried. Okay. Now, let's just cut the best damn deal for us. We'll still make the most of all the players in the state. We'll do it in a way in which we make the most. No, DC, no one's making money in Florida on gambling. Listen, DeSantis and the Seminoles are not winning this one. They're not. They're not. It's simple federal law. They're trying to argue that if they open up a betting parlor in downtown Fort Myers, that betting parlor is Indian land. Come on. That's not going to fly. Think about what that would do nationwide. They're not going to win that. They're not. And besides, you got 30 other states who have widespread gambling. It's really simple. Everybody's making money. That'd be cool if wet paint would run the Belmont. That'd be good.
And if we'd have had more time with Randy, because I was going to ask him the same question. His reasonings, the points he used were not the points I would use.
10 seconds.
Baseball has extended the length of their season. Hockey has extended the length of their season. They've all extended the length of their seasons for player safety. That's the argument.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the top of the hour. Final segment of the week along the network in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. The bonus hour awaits in the 239 at the top of the hour, Miller and Moulton. the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We got a lot going on. Got game 3 tomorrow, Heat Knicks. We got game 3 Sunday, Panthers Leafs. We got a derby tomorrow night. I mean, I'm sorry if you're going to post at 7:00. It's tomorrow night. 6:57 technically is when the race is supposed to start. Don't miss it. It's 2 minutes. You may have heard that over the years. Got the Miami Grand Prix on Sunday. I mean, there's other stuff out there. Rays Yankees, thank you very much. 20 years later, a rematch of the NLCS. The Marlins are on the north side of Chicago. That's a stretch, I know. It just sounded good. But we got a lot going on. It's a nice little sports weekend. Thank you very much. You know, a lot of talk, Mark, about the whole NBA and the regular season, and it's not worth a hill of beans anymore. Well, with what's going on in the Stanley Cup playoffs, how are we going to put weight on the regular season of the NHL?
How can you? Home teams can't win.
All right, hold on here. I got it written down. They're 22-34. What do you mean they can't win?
22-34. And I'll be curious, because we've already had road teams doing really well in the early part of the second round, if this continues throughout the entire playoffs. I don't see why it wouldn't.
The only thing that I will argue as to why I think the NHL regular season has more value than the NBA is I do think it's tougher to make the playoffs in the NHL. There's not a whole lot separate in that you kind of, like the Florida Panthers for 3+ months were not good. They had to play exceptional hockey for 2 months just to get in. And they've continued to play exceptional hockey.
I will say the Heat put a little bit of a damper on your argument because the Heat didn't finish the season as a very good team, nearly bowing out of the play-in tournament and then take down the number 1 seed. What the Heat did is unprecedented in the NBA.
The Lakers started 2-10 and rallied. I think, by the way, I could be wrong here. The Lakers, do they have the best record in the league since the All-Star break? Or is it the trade deadline? But they actually, it's one of them. They have the best record in the league. Might be the trade deadline. So it'll be interesting in 6 months when their regular seasons start up again in these sports, how much damage, if you will, this phenomenal postseason will do to next year's regular season in both leagues.
For the record, I am picking Angel of Empire in the Derby. David has verifying.
Yeah. Your horse is what, like 6-1, 8-1?
8-1.
Okay. And mine's 15. Just going for a little something. My horse is fast enough to win this race. I don't know if it can get there, but my horse is fast enough. Because it ran with the second favorite. Okay, and lost by a nose in the Bluegrass to the horse who, if he can avoid the traffic, may be the fastest horse in this race, over 1.25 miles.
And your horse, you're getting really good odds of what I'm seeing.
Yesterday it was 15-1. Is it better than that now?
What I see on the morning line is 24-1.
Well, maybe dumping that jockey is going to make me some money.
Possibly.
Good. Fantastic. That fits my criteria, baby. I said I wanted to put a 30-1 or better in my bets.
I know, and I couldn't believe you didn't take 2 fills just for Mickelson.
If you'd won the Masters, I would have. But, T2.
I will say Randy Moss on the show does like 2 fills as one of the longer shots out there. He likes Skinner as well. Yesterday we had Kurt Becker on the show. He was a fan of Disarm. That's at 30-1 right now. As we asked for some horses that we might be able to make some big money on.
Right. By the way, would you we asked Randy Moss and he didn't get specific, but he said, yeah, horse racing's got to change. Can't have the 3 Triple Crown races within 5 weeks. Got to spread them out. Would you do simply May, June, July? Boom, boom,
100%.
boom. So first weekend May, first weekend June, and right around July 4th, do the Belmont?
I would love to have the Belmont be the Saturday. You couldn't necessarily say before July 4th, but I would love to see that. And I thought, Randy used a lot of different arguments. I actually thought he used some of the wrong arguments because we've extended every season in sports. Baseball starts earlier, ends later to give guys a little bit more of a break. Hockey and the NBA have stretched their seasons out. Football has stretched its season out. Reading an article yesterday about, 2 of the horses that they had to put down were because they broke legs. If we put down athletes that broke their legs, we wouldn't have sports. We've got to try to take care of these horses and try to have the best horses run. And so I think ideally to spread this out. The only thing I don't know, they'd have to really work marketing wise to not lose momentum because 2 weeks, the quick turnaround gets people fired up if there's a Triple Crown winner. If the Derby horse doesn't win the Preakness, it's dead for the Belmont.
Well, the other thing that now will hurt horse racing is I don't believe all 3 Triple Crown races are on the same network anymore. Didn't Fox, beginning this year, win the rights to the Belmont? So, I think NBC's got the first 2 legs, and then they turn it over to a network who has no history with it. And what is it they're broadcasting that's going to, promote you to watch? I mean, somehow I don't think USFL games are going to bring in a big audience for the Belmont.
No, Fox really has nothing to promote it.
I mean, they got a National Baseball Game of the Week, and that is marginalized now in terms of popularity. So I think because I believe when Joe Buck was still with Fox, I saw the news blurb that Fox got the rights to the Belmont, and I remember texting him saying, "You ever done horse racing before?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "I got a researcher for you." I was going to hook him up with Kurt Becker. I was going to say, I got a guy for you. And then, obviously, well, he doesn't have to worry about that. But
he
a
did
lot
figure out a work less and get paid more.
Listen, no doubt about it.
Something we're all looking for. There's no doubt.
Especially, and he did it when he was in his 50s. I mean, if you think about it, he really is, pretty smart guy. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. But just about all this stuff I'm fired up for, although I was giddy last year at this time, although it was Mother's Day weekend last year for the Miami Grand Prix, I am not giddy for it this year. I will sample it, hoping for a better race. I did not like the track last year at all. I thought it did not allow for much passing, and that sport lacks for passing to begin with on great tracks. I thought that race was over once we got to turn 2 last year on the first lap. Boring as hell. That would be my thing. I don't know how you put a great track together in a parking lot of a football stadium, but we need to have passing.
I may need to watch The Drive to Survive. I know everybody says it's terrific. Everybody who's watched it has raved about it. Ross Chastain has made me watch NASCAR more. I can watch a NASCAR race, see them pass one another, and at least enjoy it. I'm with you. F1, it's the first lap.
Yeah, whoever gets to turn 1. Okay, race over. Unless they screw up in the pits.
It's never grabbed me. Maybe that makes me a very dumb sports fan because, the F1 fan is apparently, the most intelligent of the race fan. Maybe I'm just not there.
Yep. I'm going to listen to my brother-in-law again this weekend. He's big into F1. Him and his youngest, they watch it all the time. He's into cars. And I will say, if you're into cars, this is the series.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the best manufacturers. It's the most money, the best engineers, the best everything.
But, to me, that's kind of like putting Secretariat in the top 50 greatest athletes of all time. If I can't interview Secretariat post-race, you're not an athlete. I can't interview Ferrari. I can't. I'm not saying Ferrari's ugly. I'm saying Ferrari's beautiful, but I can't interview Ferrari. Therefore, I don't know. But so I'll sample it. I hope that the second year's race, even though it's not as hyped and it's not yet sold out, or it's not cheap, but it's not yet sold out. But Heat Knicks. The line is really small, and Felipe, I don't know what you've heard, but I'm just going by the betting line here. The line to me indicates they don't think Jimmy's playing. And if he does play, he ain't even going to be as healthy as Randall is right now with his ankle injury.
Well, if you see the injury, he turned it pretty bad. He seems to be fine. He's training, he's walking around.
Yeah, but Randall practiced 2 days before game 1 and didn't play. Felipe, and I know you're not into betting, but what's the line? 2, 3? If Jimmy Butler's playing, that line's 5.5, 6.
Now that's Vegas telling you something. And that's
Right.
kind of that's how David and I look at these lines ahead of time. I got it at 3.5 right now.
Okay, well then it was below 3 yesterday. So maybe now the word's getting out, Jimmy's going to play. If that's the case, I would expect that line to get to 4.5, 5.
For the record, the Celtics are 2-point favorites tonight on the road.
I know. I do think tonight's a must-win for the Sixers. Because Boston's going to win at least one in Philly. Boston's too good. Their road record over the years. In fact, I was listening to a guy who does Celtics games yesterday. Brian Scalabrine was talking about if you go back to like midway through last year's playoffs, the Celtics are like 7-8 in their last 15 home playoff games. They're not a great home playoff team against the better teams in the last 2 years. And you could recite, you could go back. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Warriors at home. Miami went in and won the game 6 last year. Atlanta went in and won game 5. Philly got a split. He's like, Boston, this is not, Celtics of yesteryear home court advantage here. They don't have it.
They lost game 7 of the 2018 Eastern Conference Finals at home.
Yeah. I mean, and this is the same, nucleus kind of, sort of.
Brown, Tatum.
Yeah. So, but I do think Philly has to win tonight, though, because I don't think they win 3 out of 4. I think they can win 2 out of 4. I don't think they can win 3 out of 4.
Do you think the series is tonight, though?
If Philly loses, Boston
has won the series.
And I think Philly is vulnerable in the next round. I think if Boston wins the series, they're in the finals. I think the Heat can give a series.
This is the Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay, I actually think both teams. Philly because of Embiid. He's not healthy. He's not going to be healthy. And Harden, let's face it. I mean, he's old and he's fat, and he can be great and he can be awful. I think Philly is all over the place. I feel confident that over 7 games, 2 weeks, I think I know what I'm going to get with Boston. I don't feel that way about Philly.
Didn't James Harden just score 45 points?
Yeah, and he went 2 for 14 in game 2. Right. I said he could be great and he could be old and fat.
Well, it's like, Davis has the huge game 1 for the Lakers. He did nothing yesterday. Nothing.
Nothing. It was LeBron and Rui Hachimura. That was it.
And it was LeBron in the first half.
In the first half.
Because LeBron had, 21 of his 23 points in the first half.
Yes.
All right, well, mid-third, they basically said, why don't you take the rest of the night off, since we have decided to take all of tonight off. Steve Kerr with an adjustment, by the way. Brought Looney off the bench. All right.
Well, Looney was sick. That was part of the reason why.
Yeah.
So they say.
Right. I was going to say, I think they covered. He was sick, all right. He had the starting lineup flu last night.
He was sick of Davis speaking it to
him. So it's a really good sports weekend. Catch as much of it as you can.
Not to mention Rays and Yankees.
Yeah. And apparently they're opening the upper deck. I mean, who knows? We might draw over 100,000 for the 3-game series. Be nice to have Rays fans and Yankees fans chanting at one another. A real home field advantage. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. In the 239, the bonus hour is next.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Yeah, hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
What is that?
The Love Boat theme. Love Boat launched today in 1977.
Oh, man.
The Love Boat.
I follow an account called The Sting on Twitter. It's actually tsting18. Just does movie stuff. And he basically did a whole 2 minute and 20-second montage of all the people that were on the Love Boat. You know, all the famous people, if you will. But Reggie Jackson was on the Love Boat. Bruce Jenner was on the Love Boat when he was Bruce Jenner.
Well, remember, 77. I mean, we're not even a full year removed from the 76 Olympics.
Of course, Leslie Nielsen was on the Love Boat. Abe Vigoda. That's fantastic.
Fish. DC, I have not watched Rush. I should. I heard the movie's long. I thought it was like over 2.5 hours.
It is. I've not seen it, but it is long.
Verifying, by the way, is the horse. Verifying, in honor of Elon Musk and the blue check mark. Verifying. Very scientific, my reason. Although the horse does have, finished second in the bluegrass to the second favorite in this race.
DC, I actually think the opposite of what you're saying. I think if they extended the Triple Crown, it would actually mean more for the Triple Crown winner because he would run against a better field.
Mm-hmm.
They don't put good horses in the Preakness anymore.
No, and by the time they get to the Belmont, I mean, sometimes the field is awful. I mean, even Secretariat, when, he won
all three races.
Yeah, but there was, by the Belmont, it was basically a match race.
Oh, yeah.
There was no other horse in the race who had any real.
It's going to be rainy, Adam. It's supposed to be rainy.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour on this Cinco de Mayo. Hope your week is going well. Thanks for spending time with us, Miller and Moulton. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. That's where you can download our podcast if you miss any part of the show from 6 until 10, Monday through Friday. Had Randy Moss of NBC Sports on in our 7 o'clock hour talking about the Derby. Had Pat Kirwan on last hour talking all things NFL. We made our picks for the Derby. Mark, you like?
I like Angels of Empire.
What do you got, about 8-1 right now?
Hovering between 6 and 8.
Verifying at 24-1. When I picked Verifying, the horse was 15-1.
But it dumped its rider yesterday.
Right.
During practice. That could be a reason that the money has left the horse.
It's okay. Now I get better odds. Hey, flukish thing that's out there. So apparently somebody was sent a photo of an iPad from someone in Major League Baseball in 2015, right after Rob Manfred took over as commissioner. Somebody basically, the meeting, here's kind of what I'm thinking about the future of the sport and what have you. And topics for discussion. There were 12 topics that were on the iPad that was forwarded to this person. 9 of the 12 have come through, involving pace of game, offensive production, instant replay, and what have you. And we all know what changes have been made to Major League Baseball in the last 8 years since Manfred took over as commissioner. There are 3 rule changes left that were on this mysterious iPad that was forwarded to a journalist 8 years ago, saying, here's what we're talking about in the sport. A mercy rule, which, by the way, I'm all in favor of.
Eliminate the outfielder coming in to throw an inning.
Now, what inning would you do the mercy rule? After 7 or after 8?
After 7 for me.
I think I'd start with after 8. I do. By the way, I'd have it be 10 runs. I don't know what number it has to be for you to have the mercy rule. I like the mercy rule in college softball. I wish, do they have it in baseball?
I don't believe so.
Because I'm in favor of it. I think once you get to through the 7th inning, and if you got a 10+ run lead, I'm in favor of it.
In softball, it's easy because if you get up that big, most of these teams, they don't score that many runs. It's not
Right.
I mean, that's not the way the game's played.
Right. So a mercy rule, by the way, do you ever think that a major pro sport in this country will adopt a mercy rule?
You know what? First off, you're right. It would be the 8th inning. And the only way it would happen is the 8th inning because there are too many other things that are dependent upon it. Merchandise sales, beer sales, and the like. So I don't think so. But if it happens, it would be the 8th inning, David.
I mean, think about it. If you're the home team and you're up 10 and you get through the top of the 8th, I mean, yeah, I know there's some guys losing at bat, right? Yeah, we get it. We all know what we're missing out on. But, I mean, do we really need to do this? Is it necessary? As Herm Edwards famously said, you play to win the game. As opposed to you play to, sell commercials and sell beer. A raised strike zone, I actually would go the other way. If anything, I would lower the strike zone. Because with as hard as they are throwing now, the higher you make the strike, it's really tough to hit a pitch above the belt, period, with as hard as they're throwing now. But a raised strike zone and the Miller and Moulton proposal. Give the manager the ability to reset the lineup for the 9th inning. Come on now. You and I would do it for even more than the 9th, but okay, let's start. Tell you what, can I talk you into this? I'll give you a mercy rule. You give me the 9th inning. We can do whatever we want. What do you say?
For the longest time, I fought this. But when you put it to what the other sports are, we end a football game, and the quarterback is the one pushing the pace of play.
Sure. 2-minute
whatever
drill.
team it is.
4 wideouts. Let's go.
Now, I know Steph had to pass it at the end of game 1 because he was getting double teamed, but generally Steph's going to take the shot.
Right.
LeBron's going to take the shot.
Right. James Harden took the shot with under 10
Bingo.
seconds to go in game 1. Right.
Bingo. Even hockey has changed the rules in such a way that the TV timeouts have become a bigger part. They adapted TV timeouts. Why? What have coaches done with that? They get their star players on the ice even more now.
Well, we talked about it when Tampa Bay was still alive and they needed to win game 5 in Toronto. And they did, but they were clinging to a 1-goal lead. And Austin Matthews and his line played the final 3 minutes for the Maple Leafs in the game. Normally a hockey shift is 30 to 40 seconds. Austin Matthews was on the ice for the final 3 minutes for the Leafs.
Between a television timeout and then a timeout, able to essentially triple shift him.
So you're coming around.
I am. I would only do it for the 9th inning.
Fair enough. I would do it for at least the 8th as well.
Give me my robot umpires. You can get a lot done, David. All you have to do in the room is give me my robot umpires.
Well, apparently they're coming next year.
Amen.
It's funny. I'm not totally on board with the robot umpires. I know I should be.
Why do you like calls to be wrong?
I know. I'm wrestling with myself. That's all. I'm just wrestling with myself. Come on. I'm not a huge technology guy. I don't know how to operate anything. So you can see why I would wrestle with this.
Right. But you, out of the two of us, and we're both big tennis fans, but you're even a bigger tennis fan than I am. Is the sport not better with the eye in the sky, if you will?
Well, totally. Because, for the naked eye to see 120, 130, 140 mile an hour serves, I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know that we are equipped to see whether or not that tennis ball is an inch or two. Did it catch the back of the line or did it miss it by an inch or two? I honestly don't know if we can see that.
Well, I don't know if a 55-year-old man behind the plate can see a 100-mile fastball where it's coming in or a 92-mile-an-hour slider if it cut over the corner of the plate or not.
Well, he is within a foot of it. 2 feet tops. But I understand. Listen, I've seen it this week. I asked the Pirates, by the way, about the strike zone yesterday at the Trop. 7 of their 10 strikeouts were caught looking, and they didn't agree with like 6 of them.
Imagine the buildup at a baseball stadium like they do at tennis matches. The clap, clap, clap. Oh.
I know, Felipe. Don't you have to applaud the tennis fan how they embraced it?
Yes.
I mean, if you think about it, they could just sit there like golf fans.
It makes the tennis experience better.
I know that it's funny. The tennis fan loves the replay. They get excited. You're right. The rhythmic clap that builds up, and then they either cheer or,
Well, it's why if baseball does the robotic umpire, I don't have a problem with it being a challenge system for the drama effect. If you want to keep it in for a year or two to see if the challenge, because that's what that is. It's not used on it's used on the serves, but anything else is a challenge by the player.
So now I'm going to be on the lookout for any meeting iPad exclusives that are sent to journalists, and then we'll find out in other sports what's coming for 2031. Because this leaked MLB meeting from 8 years ago and the bullet points that were on it, and of the 12 bullet points, 9 of them have come to fruition, and those are the 3 that haven't. A mercy rule, a raised strike zone, and the manager can reset the lineup in the 9th inning.
The raised strike zone, I'm with you. I mean, they're all trying to get these guys to chase up anyhow. If you start calling that as a strike, we already have, to most of us, more strikeouts in the game than makes for a good baseball game. We swing and miss more now than we've ever before.
I'm sorry. Continue.
Oh, no, I was just thinking, you and I, we talk movies every once in a while. Major League, when Willie Mays Hayes is hitting them on the air, and the coach is like, you got to leg him out. You got to be running. Now they couldn't even make that scene in the movie. He'd be hitting him on the ground. The coach would go, what's your launch angle? We got to get the ball up in the air. We're hitting 3-run homers on this team. No one's legging it out anymore.
It's a good impression, by the way. It's a very solid voice of the manager in the first Major League. That's well done right there.
Thank you.
What sport? No, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say it's tough to get that grovelly, and you were able to pull it off. Well done. Well done. If I can this is all that has changed in Major League Baseball in 8 years. We have attention span of gnats. Once change goes into effect, after we're done either praising it or belly aching about it, we move on. Think about being in a meeting room in Major League Baseball 8 years ago, and the new commissioner walks in and says, here's what I'd like to talk about. 8 years ago, pace of play, pitch timer. 8 years ago, limitation on manager and coaches' mound visits, limitation on pickoffs, a time limit for activity between at-bats, start extra innings with runners on base, mercy rule, no pitch intentional walks, which I believe was the very first thing Manfred got in, right? Wasn't it like before the pandemic? Didn't we go to you just hold 4 fingers?
4 fingers up.
Okay. Then they had bullet points under offensive production. Raise the strike zone to the top of the knee. Require the relief pitcher to face a minimum number of batters, which they now do. You got to face 3, or you have to end the inning. You can face less than 3 if you end the inning. Limit the number of roster spots allowed to pitchers. They've now done that. It's half, 13. Limit defensive shifts. Allow the manager to reset the batting lineup in the 9th inning.
Some old baseball people walked out of that meeting and went, this guy's not going to last a week.
I hate him. How'd they vote for him? What is this? I mean, can you believe how radical this was 8 years ago?
hardly explainable, and the fact of the matter that most of them have come to fruition. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening right here, Florida Sports Network.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Did you see my text?
Yes, I would. I'm in.
Okay. You want to tip him off? Maybe he could put some thoughts together.
Felipe,
Not now. I meant. I know baseball fans hate the Apple TV thing, but if you're Apple TV, How do you not have the Yankees-Rays game tonight? I mean, what good is it going to do you? You got Twins, Guardians, and you got White Sox, Reds. What the hell?
By the way, have you been able to watch a broadcast on Apple TV Plus?
I have not.
Don't have Apple TV Plus.
It's very nice. It's a very clean broadcast. They have a lot of cool statistics.
I believe beginning this month, I'm supposed to, I think I have a saved email that I'm now paying for Apple TV. So I probably should start watching it.
That and Ted Lasso.
I'll get there.
Yeah, I've got 3 months free of Apple TV from my Verizon subscription that I've not yet plugged in. I want to wait till we finish the show that my wife and I are watching and then jump to Ted Lasso.
There you go. That's how you do it. Apple TV Plus has a lot of good shows, actually.
Yeah, the other one, Network. What's the other one? Was the Jennifer Aniston?
Yeah,
Reese Witherspoon, right? Is it
morning show.
The morning show.
It was Steve Carell, Jen, and Reese, and I think Carell just did 1 year.
Also, another show called For All Mankind. That's pretty good. It's about if the Soviets got to the moon first.
How about Costner and the producer couldn't work things out, and Yellowstone's ending after 5 years? And apparently,
it's gone so badly, he's getting a divorce.
That's right.
It's the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. If you miss any part of the show, download what you miss. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when, along with final thoughts and predictions of what will be not just a nice night, but a terrific sports weekend coming up in about 20 minutes. So big news at FGCU yesterday.
Yes.
They have a new president.
So that I texted you.
I know. And it is true, ladies and gentlemen. It is true. I received 2 texts yesterday from Mark Miller.
He only responded to one of them.
I had turned the phone off for the, you know what? Last night I said, I need a break.
I don't care. I've not returned your text before. There was actually a little text thread yesterday with you and I and another person. I was very active texting with you yesterday, David.
I know. Come to think of it, we talked entirely too much. No wonder by 7:30 I turned my phone off. My apologies in advance, because I have a feeling I'm going to mispronounce the new president of FGCU's name, Dr. Asigal, and I don't know if it's Timur, Timur, or Timur.
That's what I'd go with.
But she is a promotion from within, by the way, which I got to admit, I'm a big fan of. And I didn't know any of the candidates and hardly anything about any of them. But my feeling has always been about FGCU, and, take what I'm about to say with a pound of salt. FGCU is an interesting place. They got their own bodies buried where they got them buried. They got their own little way of doing things. And to me, when you're an outsider coming into FGCU, it takes a year and a half to figure out the landscape. I don't think FGCU has a year and a half. With whoever their president was going to be, they got a lot of things they got to get done. They got to get them done yesterday. So I'm glad that they promoted from within in that sense. I have no idea if this lady, who's very accomplished, is going to be good or not. But I have to admit, on paper, it passed the smell test for me.
She's worked there for quite a while.
Quarter century, I think, right? I mean, basically from close to day one. Hasn't she been there 20 years?
She moved here 25 years ago. I don't know how long she started.
Gotcha. Yeah, she moved to Naples kind of like when we moved to Southwest Florida, late 90s. Right. So very accomplished, got her degrees overseas. Some of them anyway.
Well, she moved to Naples from Turkey.
Right.
She's
got her master's from Istanbul. So anyway, close vote, apparently 7-6. Tough to get closer. So anyway, we got about 6-7 minutes here. If we had 5 minutes in front of her to say, hey, we care about the athletic department. Okay. We don't know how much you care about it, quite frankly. Your job previous to this, you had nothing, zip, zilch, nada to do with the athletic department. Okay. Could you just hear what we have to say? Mark, I'll start with you. What would you say to her?
You need money. You need to put people in place that there is tremendous wealth in Southwest Florida. I don't think they've ever tapped into what's here. And without money, this program goes nowhere. And I don't think they have enough money. They've lost coaches because of it. They have no NIL to speak of. And not that at FGCU are expecting them to be the Florida, well, whatever it is now at Florida. But other schools in their conference have kids getting NIL. They're losing kids because of NIL to transfer in. Someone's got to take charge of making sure, if you want this athletic department to grow, someone's got to take charge to start getting the financial reserves to have an athletic department to succeed, because it's not there right now.
Felipe, as a proud, somewhat recent graduate, I mean, it was almost a year ago to the day, right? FGCU alum. What is it that you, as an alum, would say to the incoming president? She takes over, by the way, July 1st.
I would say that, like Mark said, with money, I think you need to funnel some money into how you broadcast your sports. FGCU had an incredible start to their college baseball season, and they were not able to have any of their games streamed or televised. And until they were basically pressed by the NCAA and the ASUN Conference to do so, and what they have currently are 2 still cameras with no camera operators, and it's a direct representation of the universities as a whole and the university's athletic program. So making sure that you have easy ways to broadcast your sports and nice ways to produce such broadcasting is very important. And when it doesn't look good, it doesn't make the school look good.
Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate. She's going to listen to the two of you and say, even if I agree, the athletic department's losing money. You're going to want me, and I got money issues. I mean, every incoming university president has money issues. So I got money issues, and you want me to invest money in a place that's already losing money.
No, David, part of what I said is I want them to start making money. I want them to hire people who know how to get money. They are severely lacking in getting tapped into the money that's in Southwest Florida. It's here.
Yes, I agree. And I agree with both of you completely.
Well, no, I want to make sure you understood what I'm saying. I'm not saying for the university to pour more money. They need to have people who are out there getting the money. They may have to hire 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, but they've got to be out in the community trying to raise money for that school.
But in theory, though, we're saying they have to spend more money. Now, in theory, we think they could make a ton more money. But they are going to have to make more of an investment, like what Felipe talked about. They're going to have to spend $100,000 to $200,000. Their equipment's 20 years outdated, and they don't have enough of it anyway. It's horrendous, their broadcasting situation the way it is right now. Trust me, I did their games for 20 years. I'm very well aware of what it is. All right. And they're going to have to hire some staff to go out, hit the pavement to bring in the money. So they are going to have to commit a few $100,000 at the very least to an athletic department that's losing money. And as somebody who, has received very little money from them over the years, but one thing that I've known is That's a university that does not spend money to make money. There are companies that do, and there are companies that don't. FGCU's philosophy has never been to spend money to make money. And that's the only thing that I would say to her without getting into specifics. I'm like, listen, the only way you're going to change what people are complaining to you about is you're going to have to spend some money. And you may not see the return for 24 months, but you need to suck it up and do it.
She served as vice president and vice provost of the strategy and program innovation at FGCU. She was able to get them a $23 million grant from the U.S. Department of Commerce for the Good Jobs Talent Grant.
Right. She knows how to get money.
She understands the concept. Well, I bring that up because if she could go out and get $23 million, she understands the importance of being on the street getting money. And the athletic department's never. That's what I would say. Who have you hired in your athletic department that can get money? There's been one guy.
Now, it's a very different animal, though, getting money from the government, the Department of Commerce, than there is going and getting it from, the streets you're going to have to go get it from. I mean, you can't go to Applebee's to get that kind of money.
No, you can't.
No.
But I don't know if you're aware of what some of these homes in Naples have been selling for. And the CEOs that have second residences down here.
I understand.
It shouldn't be as hard as it's been for them.
We agree. So what do you think? We do okay? That was our 5 to 7 minutes. We do okay? What do you say we present it to her? Say, hey, congratulations. Here's our gift.
I'm sure Philly will have it up in a social media post here in the coming minutes.
And new president. Congratulations, doctor. Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Miller and Moulton, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when what's on tap? That's next right here, the Florida Sports Network.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I could never convince the athletic department that the broadcasts were an infomercial and they needed to invest in them. And they had it really good for a while, and this is going to sound egotistical, but they had Jeff Mayer producing and directing along with a couple other guys who were experienced pros. I did the games. Mark, you did a year on radio. Okay. Tom James is an experienced sportscaster. I mean, but behind the scenes, the equipment was terrible, is terrible. Graphics, they don't spend any money on, like Felipe, thank goodness you like it and you volunteered and you stepped up. But, I mean, these are not hard shoots. There are people in the market you could actually, God forbid, pay just a little bit of money to, and the product could look phenomenal.
David,
representation of your university and your athletic department for 2, 3, 4 hours at a time.
First of all, I 100% agree. The fact that I did not know who you were, despite going to FGCU for 4 years until I started working here, is kind of part of the problem, because David is has been the voice of FGCU basketball, or was at the time, for years.
Mm-hmm.
And
which goes,
also in the ASUN women's championship game, they had people from the ASUN come into our truck, and said, "You guys are still using this?
Mm-hmm.
We threw this away like 10 years ago."
Mm-hmm.
Adam, the problem is I don't think there are yet. You've got to go. But there's enough money down here. They just don't know how to get it.
Yeah, Adam in DC, there's rich people want to do something with their money. They actually do want to do something with it, and not always just for themselves. I mean, you really could if you just had the right people. I mean, you've got a lot of things that people could put their name on there. Soccer stadium could use a name. There's a lot of things that people could put their names on if they wanted to. There's a lot of things they could still build and do. Inside Alico Arena, there's the side you walk in on, and then there's the back side.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got the student section, if you will, and then you have the concourse, and then you got that big glass room. I have always, at 15 years, I've said, you got to knock that down and make suites. Because that's also how you're going to get the Naples people. You got to bring them in.
You don't have any suites.
Right. You'd have no suites. You've got 6 suites. One of them's tied up with the president. Okay. So you really only got 5 you could sell. Okay. There's only one that's like a double size that you could sell. The others are all small.
Right.
I thought there was one next to it, but you're right. The double suite might just be the president's. I mean, that's the other thing. They need to put something in there the other thing I completely redo Swanson Stadium. Okay. I'd keep his name on it. Dwayne Swanson should always have his name on that stadium. Okay. But I got to build a baseball stadium that can hold a regional, that can hold a super regional, quite frankly. I need suites. We got to get people coming. The product's good. I can sell beer. I should be able to get people to watch baseball. But when you come and you go to the baseball game, you look around, that's a high school stadium. The field's terrific. The grounds crew is amazing, but the stadium itself is a high school stadium.
Yeah. By the way, the camera that I used came out in 2001. I just looked it up.
Yeah. Felipe, I quit local television in January, February of 2004. And the equipment that FGCU uses, I was using. The whole time I did the games, I knew exactly.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes till the top of the hour, 16 until we're out of here. Thanks so much for listening. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. If you ever miss any part of the show and you want to, give it a listen.
Without any further ado, let's get to it.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
All right. How about a little, the whole day, and for that matter, the whole week. Didn't mention Chuck once. And no, I don't mean Barkley. Didn't mention the proceedings tomorrow across the pond. Nothing. Zip, zilch, nada. It's pretty good for me.
I'm impressed. I am. Kind of gives me an idea of what's coming. 1891, Music Hall in New York opens. It's now called Carnegie Hall. 1904, Cy Young pitches the first perfect game in modern baseball as the Boston Americans beat who else? The Philadelphia Athletics 3-0. 1921, Coco Chanel releases Chanel No. 5. There you go. 1938, Harold Keller faces 16 batters in the sixth inning for the Phillies as the Cubs score 12. Both are NL records off of one hurler in a single inning. Face 16 batters, they don't pull him, and gives up 12 runs. Think the manager was pissed at him about something?
Yeah, really. Man, I guess the bullpen was overworked. Sorry, dude. Got to take one for the team. It's like how Patrick Waugh stopped playing for the Canadians. Kept scoring on him. They didn't take him out of the game. He finally came to the bench and said, I'm done.
I can't hear you. I have a Stanley Cup ring in each ear. 1943, Postmaster General Frank C. Walker invents the postal zone system. Today in 1965, the first large-scale U.S. Army ground troops arrive in South Vietnam. 66, Les Habitants, the Canadians, go back-to-back beating the Wings in Game 6. 69, the Celtics beat the Lakers in 7 because, well, that's what they do when they played one another.
Bill Russell's last game, it was in Los Angeles. Famously, the balloons were in netting up in the rafters because they were going to release the balloons when the Lakers finally won the championship.
Same day as that title, the Milwaukee Bucks signed the first overall pick, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
And when they signed him, yes, he was Lou Alcindor.
Today in 73, one of the greatest athletes of all time wins the Kentucky Derby, Secretariat, in record-setting time.
I believe Secretariat and that ESPN 50 Greatest Athletes of the 20th Century, I believe he was 36 in between Mickey Mantle and Oscar Robertson.
One better than the Big O, right?
Right, exactly. And I remember watching that thinking, if I am the Big O, I am so angry.
Today in 77, David, the Love Boat.
Oh, really?
Debut of the Love Boat. Was it Saturday nights on ABC?
Yeah, it was a monster. And then they spin off and they put a Fantasy Island at 10 and the Love Boat at 9. Oh, it was a monster night of television.
Today in 78, Pete Rose becomes the 14th player to get 3,000 hits. Spectacular Bid in 79 wins the Derby. Swale in 84 wins the Derby. Today in 86, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Foundation announces Cleveland, Ohio, chosen as the site of the Rock Hall of Fame.
Do we know who they beat out? Because that's especially in 86. I mean, Cleveland was going through a time where, mistake by the lake. It was only 10 years removed from the lake being on fire. And, Jersey and Cleveland were the butt of late night jokes all through the 70s into the 80s.
And I don't, David. I don't. Today in 87, the Tigers are 11 back in the AL. They would win the AL East. For all you baseball fans looking at where your team is right now and how far they've got to come.
What are the Cardinals? 10 back, Yankees 9?
Right. Unbridled wins the Derby in 90. The final episode of Married with Children aired today in 1997. The final episode, not the first episode, the final one.
Right.
Today in 2007, Street Sense wins with Kevin Burrell aboard, but that wasn't really the big deal because Queen Elizabeth II was in the house. That's a hat.
That is a hat.
2015, Chris Stapleton releases his debut album, Traveler. It's really damn good. Justify wins in 2018 with Mike Smith aboard. Karl Marx, Ann B. Davis, and Tammy Wynette would have celebrated birthdays today. Not a lot of big birthdays today. Ziggy Palfy, the hockey player, is 51. And Adele is 35.
Okay.
So maybe you can listen to a little Adele today, David.
Do you think Adele will produce music like well into her 50s? Or do you think that she'll be done in the next 10 years and she'll just perform into her 60s?
Ooh, I think musicians like to come up with new music. I think she'll still be doing new music.
I hope so. What a voice.
I mean, Tony Bennett was doing new music till into his 80s. I don't see why someone with that great voice wouldn't sing as long as she possibly can. And if they're singing, there's an engineer in this building who's a musician who had some success when he was much younger. And I remember asking him, he put out an album and he listened to this. He's not in a real band. I mean, he's in a band, but this music's going nowhere. I'm like, why do you still do it? And he's like, why wouldn't I keep doing it? It's what I do. I'm a musician.
It's music.
Right.
It's awesome.
What did I miss?
One thing, the space race in the 60s, and we started from behind in the late 50s. And today was the day that we started to catch up. Alan Shepard, I should say. His middle name is Bartlett. Alan Shepard launched into space. First U.S. astronaut into space today in 1961, a little over 3 weeks after the Soviets put two guys into space. They went around the moon and back. Okay, Shepard just went 15 minutes, went about 120 miles up and came back. We were behind. And then obviously we caught them, passed them, and we won. But anyway, Alan Shepard, first U.S. astronaut into space today in 1961.
Just like the game in 80. We're behind, we caught up, and we won.
Right. This is the equivalent of who was it? Mark Johnson, 1 second to go in the first period. Right. Okay, tying it. Okay, and so now we're 2-2 going to the second right here.
And we got Tretiak out, so things looked up.
Yeah, little did we know they're benching cosmonauts. Okay, things are turning around. People forget, by the way, in the second period, Soviets outshot us like 16-3. Jim Craig only allowed one goal. That was actually the game. Jim Craig kept us in it in the second period. They pulled the goalie and they dominated us for a period. And Jim Craig said,
just
not
stood
today.
On his noodle.
Yep, not today, man.
Flopping around, making kick saves, jumping all over the place.
Yep. So.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
David, I can't do all time anymore, but this is my favorite good in such a long time. This is absolutely spectacular. And they don't say, unfortunately, where the flight was to, but this was on a flight. And right when the plane landed, one passenger gets unbuckled and darts to the front of the plane. Didn't make eye contact with anyone and gets right behind the cockpit, basically so I can be first off. She came from the back of the plane, went all the way through, past first class, standing in the little kitchen thing in the front, as it says, from a Reddit user. This is before the seatbelt sign had been turned off. The flight crew asked the woman to return to her seat. She just ignored him. All of a sudden, you hear over the announcement that we have a special guest coming on board, and he will be coming out to greet them after we're all settled at the gate. Apparently, the woman stood there awkwardly until they rolled to the gate, which takes about 10 minutes. The pilot comes out of the cockpit, asks the lady to move back a little bit to get his special guest. Then says, move back a little more and a little more. He moves her all the way back to 42C and then says to the plane, I'd like to announce our special guest sitting in 42C, Let's give her a round of applause.
Wow.
That's fantastic. Laughter and applause ensued, and the lady was humiliated in front of the entire plane, and she should have been. For the bad, we stick to the friendly skies and we go to Delta Airlines in Houston, where I hope this never happens to you, David, but a swarm of bees touched down on a Park Delta aircraft, delaying the flight for 3 hours because they couldn't get the bees to move. Can't you get a beekeeper? Can't you get somebody? Apparently, they pushed the plane back and finally got the bees to move, but it was roughly 20,000 bees.
Okay, help me out here. You're on the inside of the plane, right? They're on the outside? Can't.
I think it was maybe fear that they'd go in the engine. I don't know.
What's the problem? Let's go. Let's go. I mean, what if it's raining? We don't back the plane up and leave? I mean, dude, look, come on.
It's bees, man.
We're on the inside. They're on the outside.
I'm allergic to those things.
Besides, the first 1,000 rush the engines and get destroyed. The other 29,000 are going to stay back.
For the ugly, we go to Vancouver, where Jerry Martin opened the drugs store. He opened a store selling heroin, meth, cocaine, and MDMA in the downtown East Side neighborhood that has been ravaged by the overdose epidemic. Said he wanted to give people a safe supply of drugs that have been tested to ensure they didn't contain fentanyl. Putting the sign up outside that showed what you were selling crack for probably wasn't a good idea.
No, it really isn't. I mean, we love truth in advertising and all.
He was arrested and told to stay away from that area. We'll keep you updated on this one. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on Cinco de Mayo.
Hey! All right, tonight, hockey, 8 o'clock TNT, Devils and Canes, NBA doubleheaders on ESPN, Celtics, Sixers early, 7:30. Sixers a 2-point dog at home. That's interesting. Phoenix, meanwhile, without Chris Paul, is a 4-point favorite at home against Denver, 10 o'clock. Not that any of you are going to watch, but Rays are minus 190 tonight at home against the Yankees at 640. 640 for Rays Yankees. Get ready.
God, I love the Rays start time.
I know. Games are over 9:15.
It's fantastic.
Which is perfect for their audience. In theory, if you live in Tampa, you could go and be home by 10.
Yeah, but getting there is the problem.
I understand. Marlins Cubs 220 today. Besides local regional, it's on MLB Network. Alcantara pitches Sunday. You know his ERA is 5. I know it's only a month, but
off to a rough start.
Yeah, he's the best pitcher in baseball last year. His ERA is a little over 5. Garrett Cole's pitching Sunday for the Yankees, by the way. Rays have the decided pitching edge Friday, Saturday. Yankees have it Sunday. Knicks and Heat tomorrow, 3:30 on ABC. The doubleheader tomorrow for Hoops is on ABC. Warriors Lakers at 8:30. Who do you like? Game 3. Heat a 3 to 4 point favorite.
Give me the Heat at home.
I do think they split though. I think it's a 1-1, 2-2, 3-3 series. I really do. But it's funny. I'll take the Knicks tomorrow. Panthers play Sunday night. Leafs are favored. They're minus 130. 6:30 TBS on Sunday. Man, talk about no respect.
I'll keep picking against Florida, and they'll keep winning.
Leafs did go 3-0 in Tampa, though. Panthers are 1-2 at home in the playoffs.
Right.
Home teams aren't winning, so maybe Vegas knows something. I don't know. Got the Miami Grand Prix Sunday. I believe that's 3:30 on ABC. Got the Derby tomorrow. It's on NBC. You know, they'll have coverage beginning at like 4 or 5 o'clock. The race doesn't start till 6:57. So I mean, you could watch the Knicks and the Heat at 3:30. Then you could check out the local news and flip over and watch the Derby.
Unless you want to see the hats. Skip the local news and see the hats.
That's true.
Miller and Moulton. Have a terrific weekend, everybody. We'll do it again Monday morning right here.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts.